evening, everyone. It is a special meeting of Cupop because we were canceled for weather for the second time. It is Tuesday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. So I'm calling this meeting to order. Item number 2, February 5th special meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, any discussion on adopting the minutes?
I wasn't there,
So you
so
will
I should
abstain.
abstain from this
Right.
vote, but
Okay.
no further discussion than that.
Great, wonderful. All right, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. All right, that passes. Wonderful. All right, so regarding my chair report, we did have a training session on FOIA and meeting guidelines, incorporating Robert's Rule of Order last Thursday, led by the town attorney, Nick Bamonte. Some of you were there. It was very well attended. It was great actually spending time with other board members from other commissions and committees. We touched upon, types of meetings, notice requirements, subcommittees, joint meetings, quorum, etc., communications, which was very important, agendas and minutes. It was recorded, so if you were not able to attend, I ask you to please watch the meeting. It was definitely informational for sure. And I think a lot of people had many questions towards the end regarding that, so it was a helpful meeting that was run by the town. We do have upcoming, actually, Tony, before I move on, do you know if that's been posted yet? I wasn't able to find it.
Well, you could just simply go to YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube? Okay, great.
I understand the town clerk did post it on their page. I
Okay.
haven't looked where exactly, but you could just go to YouTube and you'll find it right there.
Wonderful, thanks, Tony. Okay,
You're
great. All right, so we have a lot of upcoming town events. March is going to be a very busy month. All In for Woodbridge is hosting an event on Thursday, March 5th at 6:30 p.m. at the Center School Cafe to discuss ideas for the new community center that will be opening up at the old firehouse. So I encourage everyone to attend and give your ideas. Patty is on the All In. I have been a slacking member of that with my schedule, but I am technically a member. So any questions, ask Patty. On Sunday, March 8th, it is the second Sunday of the month for trail cleanup. It's usually 11 to 12:30. I would encourage emailing trailmaster@woodbridgect.gov to see what they are doing exactly on the trails. I don't know if anyone can see any trails these days. On March 11th, at the Board of Selectmen meeting at 5 p.m., I have been asked to present on behalf of Cupop, so I will be giving our report to Cupop. If you're able to attend as well, please do so. We'll be discussing the change in use recommendations and other tasks we've been engaged in and how they will or could fit within the strategic plan for Woodbridge. I actually was requested to present specific information on some specific properties, which we'll discuss later on in our agenda. On Saturday, March 14th, from 11 to 4 at the library, the Sustainability Committee is hosting a plant swap. On March 17th at the library, there will be a neighbor-to-neighbor conversation hosted by the First Selectman. These will be the new monthly conversations that he plans on having with residents. And that will start at 6:30. February was canceled due to snow. And an interesting one coming up, we have a resident, Susan Jacobs, who I believe, if you don't know her, she's been on every commission and board in town in her years living in Woodbridge. She actually wrote her first book, and she will be at the library on Saturday, March 28th, as she debuts her novel. And what's of special interest to those of us on this commission is that the subject matter, it's essentially about small town government politics and essentially a groundskeeper of a defunct country club who runs for first selectman, and it's a murder mystery, and he's trying to persuade individuals to not develop the country club to hide some of the crimes that have occurred. So I kind of chuckled and thought that was funny, and I really encouraged it. I ordered the book because
it's a non-fiction book.
So I thought it was very interesting, especially as we move forward with the CCW master plan. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I thought you all would get a chuckle on that. As I said, I did order the book, so I think it'll be interesting. April 25th, just moving ahead, is Earth Day. I did mention that last time. I'm wondering, and we could obviously put this on our agenda at a later date, if you think that we can offer anything at Earth Day and having a table in regard to publicly owned properties for that event. Okay, that was a lot, but that is my report for today. For today. Number 4, we have public comment. If there's any public comment, and I know we definitely have one. Maybe 2.
Marla, you want first?
And if you could just state your name and address for the record, thank you.
And then just complete that form, please. Thank you. With the minutes, thank you.
Bob Hill, 68 Acorn Hill Road, Woodbridge. Thank you for having me here. I had a chance to chat briefly with Patty, and I know Nicole, I caught you a little bit a couple weeks ago, kind of first time I met you actually, formally I think, in that way. So, became aware a few weeks ago that the baseball league was looking to have lights installed at Acorn Hill. So, just a little history here. I actually served on the baseball board for 20 years, okay? Well beyond when my son played, and part of that was to also preserve the history of what we had learned along the way so we wouldn't repeat problems, but also once you don't have a kid in the league anymore, sometimes your opinions are more well taken because you don't have a dog in the race anymore, okay? And during that period of time, I went through the league changing from being the Woodbridge Fathers Baseball League to the Bethwood Baseball League, which is certainly a much more politically correct name for the league. I also was the one who suggested and implemented the very first B team, tournament team program that the league put into play, okay? That started in around 2005, okay? I also was instrumental in the league changing their nomination policy for the All-Star team, which was a fairly Neanderthal process that they followed, where it became an open tryout to anyone that wanted to try out for the All-Star team. And there was a lot of concern, oh, we'll be doing these tryouts for weeks. No, the kids and the parents realized which kids were capable and could try out, and it did remove a lot of the politics and a lot of the black eyes that the league seemed to endure during that process, okay? I actually, almost 20 years ago, got approval for us to build a 90-foot diamond after 35 years of not being able to have that happen at Pease Road. Unfortunately, at the time, the cost was about $600,000, and the league wasn't able to raise the funds at that point, although in 1999, the town actually bonded $250,000 for that field. So also, in around 2014, Dwight Rowland asked me to step back in and run the Babe Ruth program, okay? And just so happened, Patty's son Billy played on one of the teams that I assisted in coaching that year, and I was able to recruit our assistant varsity coach at Amity High School to coach that team, and that team ended up winning the Connecticut Extreme League. And that was a fun time that summer with that program. So interestingly, as this came up, and I had reached out to Dwight about what was happening here, and I reached out when I saw that Patty was involved with this to give her a little background as to what I knew that was happening. I happened to be at the transfer station a few weeks ago and was visited by a number of people and from the board, and I was kind of a little surprised the way the discussions went. You know, one of my neighbors who will speak here, Marlo Canary, his family used to own all the land in the area where the transfer station is, and he'll give a little more history as to what's taken place. So I moved to Woodbridge in 1998, just after the ball fields opened. So some of what I had learned in the process that I'd shared with Patty at the time was at that time hearsay, but now I know it isn't hearsay because now I have the documents, okay, that we have been able to research. I think the neighbors in Acorn Hill have done our part. We had a landfill, which actually created a rainbow reservoir when it polluted it. It was capped, okay, thinly capped landfill. We permitted the transfer station, and we permitted the ball fields, okay? When that happened, and many of you may be familiar with my neighbor down the street that has the signs usually in front of their house. Well, it's funny, I guess that house typically is the one that advocates, because when Arthur Bogan lived there some years back, he was the neighborhood leader, and the neighbors hired an attorney at the time to negotiate with the town as to what would happen with the transfer station and what would happen with the ball fields. Part of what happened with the transfer station is no trucks are allowed to go to the transfer station before 9 o'clock in the morning or after 2:30 because kids are getting on and off the bus. The ball fields went on, they also negotiated that, and you'll see in the minutes that I passed, and you got the 4 pages of the salient points of the motions that were made by the Board of Selectmen at that time, that no lights would be permitted at the field, also no loudspeakers there. Now, I love hearing the kids. I live nearby. I love hearing the kids play. I love hearing, when they're cheering and there's a great play. And as neighbors, we haven't had an issue with the fact that near the end of the season, where they're having their championship games and some tournaments, there's some music that plays. We like hearing the Star Spangled Banner and some some songs that are played between innings. It's not every night of the week, so it's really not that big of an issue. So we haven't really said anything about that. One of the things that some may not be thinking about here is the funds to build the field were state funds. And so even though we may think these are only our fields, anyone in the state has access to use those fields because state funds were used to develop those fields. And I have to tell you, if for some reason or other someone figured out how to get around the fact that lights were not permitted and voted on by the Board of Selectmen, I think you'd open up Pandora's box to the use of those fields to other towns that would feel they have the right to use them. And there are very few towns that do have lights on their fields, so that'd be less of an issue. So when I was involved with the league, I was very familiar with this fall ball program, and I'm sure that some of the fellows that will speak tonight will talk a little bit about how fall ball has changed. When my son played in the league, he's 31 now, there were 8 teams in the majors and about 12 teams in minors. Last I saw, when I served on the board, I stepped off the board 2 or 3 years ago. There were 4 teams in majors and I think 6 teams in minors. I would speculate that in the fall they probably have 1 team per age group at this point. When my son played fall ball, we typically play games on the weekend because it's really, for many of these kids, it's an extra activity because they're playing soccer. And we would typically put 15 kids on a team versus 12 because it was more optional at that time whether they would show up or not. It was really kind of keep your hand at it. And some of the teams practiced, some of them didn't, okay? And none of us played games during the week because, first of all, most towns don't have lights on the fields anyway during the week. And, the other part of it, when you think about it, if there were lights on the field, are we really going to start games at 8 or 8:30 at night for kids who are 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 years old? Really doesn't kind of make some sense to me. And the other argument would be during the summer when they run tournaments, would it make sense to have the lights then? What it really takes place, because we have hosted district tournaments there, and typically you're eligible either for the 9, 10, 11, or 12-year-old tournament, only one age group each year. We don't qualify for the state tournament because, first of all, they now require that the fences have to be 225. It's only 200 there, and there's not an ability to expand further the way the fields are set up. Plus, you have to have an actual full concession stand with running water, and you also need to have bathrooms, not just porta potty, so we won't be seeing a state tournament. We do also host the 8-year-old tournament, which I actually score the games every year. I usually still do that. So typically with the tournaments, it only pushes it back a day or two because you don't have the extra time slot. So it's not that big of an inconvenience from that standpoint. Those are really pretty much, I mean, I'm sorry that you kind of, got this far down the road, but I guess the good news is, can you imagine that, in your best efforts to do and help address this issue, can you imagine you put the lights in and then all of a sudden we became aware of what happened and then the lights had to be taken down? That would really kind of be an unfortunate thing for it to play out in that way. Did spend actually up until yesterday, we were going through the minutes. John DeLizio finally found the minutes for the meeting when this was voted on. I do believe a few years after this was voted on, there was an appropriation that was put on the Board of Selectmen to appropriate $70,000 for lights. And thank God that Ed Sheehy remembered at that time, excuse me, I don't think we can do that because lights aren't allowed, and it came off the table. I will make a suggestion here, and it's kind of, it's hard for the town to keep track of everything that goes on all the time. Might want to give some consideration to putting the rules of the field at the field, and maybe one of the things that needs to be on there is no lights are permitted, so that way we don't forget and we don't end up violating something that has already been agreed on by the residents of the town. If I was to argue for lights anywhere, and this is not, I'm not saying it because it's not my neighborhood, soccer has a greater need because they play in the fall, okay? And it gets darker earlier and so on and so forth. So soccer actually is a greater need than actually, in my opinion, baseball. So thank you so much. I'll be here in case you want to ask me other questions. I have a wealth of knowledge from being involved with, but thank you so much for listening to me and enduring me.
And Bob, I just want to put this on the record because I asked you this when you handed these to me. It indicated in here that it was referred to ordinance committee. We haven't found those minutes yet, so that'll be something that we could probably look
Yep.
for. Okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this piece just got found yesterday.
Okay.
So I think same question. It says proposed ordinance, and I'm reading the pertinent part. So they proposed it, voted on it, but then was that ordinance enacted, or we don't?
We don't know. That's what we're looking for.
We just finally found this page here
Yeah.
where the Board of Selectmen, you would think that the vote of the Board of Selectmen would be honored here, and that it would be found somewhere as you look further, just like the minutes that we had to find. I mean, there's another issue that I'm also tracking down having to do with the landfill, the thinly capped landfill, because apparently, I guess when that was approved, apparently there wasn't supposed to be anything built on it, and most recently we had an issue around that too. So, got to spend some time in town hall. Now that I'm retired, I guess I'll have a little more free time to spend time in downstairs looking for that information.
Sure.
So,
All right, thanks, Bob.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Guess it's good we're doing all the research on all the town-owned properties, right?
Nicole, I was laughing because 38 Milan is on here.
It is?
It just happened,
Come on.
authorized for sale.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
More on that later.
No, I just laughed.
History does repeat itself, doesn't it?
30 years later.
30 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, God, okay.
Good
Hi.
evening, everyone. My name is Marlo Teneri. I live up at 74 Acorn Hill. As Bob mentioned earlier, my great-grandfather owned that 300-acre farm up there. All this property that we're talking about was under our family ownership throughout a couple generations. I've got a pretty strong history out there. My daughter's the 5th generation to live here in Woodbridge. And I've watched that go from a cornfield and pasture with cows out there and barbed wire fences. So when the town took it, made a sand and gravel pit out of there, turned it into a landfill for several decades. And then I and a big neighborhood group up there on Acorn Hill, we were instrumental in helping properly cap that landfill, a proper design of a transfer station, which initially was proposed right up front and center on display, and topography and so forth. My suggestion was to put it down and back in the hollow, keep the wind out of there, keep the trash where it belongs, keep it out of sight, keep the sound down. And we negotiated a lot of design aspects to be more compatible with residential neighborhood and to everyone's benefit. And I'm glad we invested the time and money to assist the town with this, because it turned out better for everyone. And then at some point, because we still had some land out there, the question was, what do we do with the rest of it? And there were various proposals over the years. Some didn't seem like they were the best ideas. And our neighborhood group, when the ball fields got proposed, we got together. I remember sitting at Arthur Bogan's house, and we had an attorney, we had a formal neighborhood group. We were represented properly, and we talked to the Board of Selectmen and the other town authorities, and we tried to reach a reasonable agreement here. And quite frankly, we knew we had some state funds that were coming in. There was a short window of opportunity to get those funds for this purpose. And with our opposition, it wasn't going to happen. And I remember sitting down for the neighborhood group, and I listened to everything, and I said, you know what? Having owned that land in the past, I'm looking at it and saying, I can live with this. Ball fields, young kids out there. You know, you can't get much better than that. And I have a great deal of respect for the Baseball League and the fathers and mothers too, who donate their time, their money, and so forth for the benefit of our kids. And it's a good, healthy thing. So I don't have any regrets about the decision I made back then, which was, with my comment to neighborhoods, I think we ought to get behind this. If we can negotiate reasonable restrictions that won't compromise our neighborhood in the long term, I think we can live with this, and it would do my heart good to see these fields going. We sat down with Nan Birdwhistle at Arthur Bogan's house right at the top of Acorn Hill, and I still remember that night. And we discussed it with her. And she said, well, what do you think? And we talked about all the pros and cons of this. And I said, you know what? If we can set up some reasonable restrictions out here indefinitely, these are conditions upon our backing this project, not something with a time frame here. This is for now and forever. She said, well, what are they? And I said, you know what, we can live with that. If there aren't going to be any lights. Nighttime games, nighttime traffic, 9, 10 o'clock at night, we don't need that up there. When the sun goes down, so should the activities. We've dealt with the landfill, we're dealing with the transfer station, we have reasonable hours with trucking and traffic. We're learning to live with that. We did the same with the ball fields. And our agreement was, and it was very specific, no lights, period. Not now, not ever. No lights. We're not going to have lighted fields. That's never going to change. You have lights, night games, traffic till 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's not reasonable in a residential neighborhood. No loudspeakers. You shouldn't have to listen to that. I know parents get overzealous. I'm one of them, okay? I understand that. And no billboards. Those are the three things that we agreed on. I remember right today, I sat there. I know what we talked about. So this is not hearsay. This is somebody who's at that meeting and talked to Nan Birdwhistle directly, okay? And she said, you know what, let me bring it back. She brought it back, talked to everyone. She said, we have an agreement. Can we move this forward? And we agreed to remove our resistance, allow the town to get that grant to build these fields, which would have been built otherwise, because the town showed enough of respect for us as a community, and we decided, yep, this is a good thing for everybody, let's do it. And we came together as a town, and we did what was right for our kids. Now here I am, a couple of decades later, and we're having the very same discussion because you give them an inch, now they want a yard. Well, now we want lights. Can we do a PA? Next thing we're gonna have a big scoreboard and lights up there too. It doesn't belong there. We knew that from day one. It shouldn't be there now. And quite frankly, I don't appreciate having to be here to even have this discussion, because I think that the people behind me and the rest of the parents who are supporting this league forget where it came from. We don't own these fields outright. We don't have exclusive use of these fields. And you better be very careful, as should the league, as to whether or not you're going to start opening this up to public use. Because these are, by law, public fields right now. They're paid for by state funds. Woodbridge does not have exclusive right or use of those fields. So be careful what you do. Because you start putting lights out there and opening it up, and all of a sudden other less fortunate towns decide they want to come out here. Get in line and start scheduling your games around all these other towns, because you don't own those fields. In spite of all the donations and all the time and effort you guys put into here, you don't have exclusive use of those fields. Be careful what you're doing. When we had to put those gates up out there to control nighttime activity, ATVs and other things that are going on at those fields at night and damage all the things that you guys paid for, we had to be careful. We didn't have the right to put those gates up. It wasn't until we got complaints filed with the police department and we showed proof that we had to restrict access to those fields for the benefit of protecting our property. The gates went up. But Woodbridge doesn't have the right to control that. You really don't. Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And that's not going to end well for our neighborhood or the league. So please, respect the agreement that's been put in place. It was masterminded for a reason. Don't lose sight of that reason, or you're going to lose control of those fields. And it's going to be a disaster for everybody, including the league. Appreciate what they have. Respect the neighborhood because we deserved it. We honored our agreement. We supported the fields. We supported them all along. And now I'm asking the town to honor their end of the agreement. No lights, no speakers, no billboards. We did our part. You do yours. And the league should do theirs. That was our agreement. Whether they were there or not, I was. And this is never going to go away. I'm asking you to do what's right. You could sit and argue about ordinances in the minutes, was it passed? Ed Sheehy knew, Nan Bergelson knows. And whether it ever got passed an ordinance or not, I think that's a moot point. Because we had an agreement. We did our part. The town should do theirs. Whether it's in writing or not. We already delivered. And now you want to go back on your word? Shame on anybody who wants to do that to that neighborhood. And that includes anybody behind me who doesn't see it for what it really is. Now, I hope I'm opening everybody's eyes and that you will, in fact, do the right thing. But if you don't, I don't have the words for that. I really don't. Our town, I think, is better than that. I think the people in here want to do the right thing and just need to be reminded of what that is. So if anybody has any questions of me, I'll happily answer it. Otherwise, I think I've pretty much said all I need to.
Thank you for your
Any
comments.
questions from anybody? All right.
Thank you.
Here we go. You're welcome.
Okay, any more public comment? Okay. I'm going to make a motion, to move item number 9 up to the agenda for our next topic of discussion. Can I have a second? David, okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, great. Okay, so number 9 will be the Acorn Hill Lights update. Patty, do you have anything to add?
No, because it's already been shared. I was
Okay.
going to report how Bob reached out after seeing Cupop on the agenda, and he watched the meeting online, and he reached out to me to give me some history, and I'm glad that you came and said for yourself, so I don't need to repeat what he recapped. And that's
And-
it. And that we were going to present the presentation by the league tonight
Great,
in
okay.
the slideshow.
So, before these guys come up, we have a independent league or two, right? And we have recreation, which takes care of the fields. Cupop, we are the public property group, but it was funded with state land.
A lot of
I'm sorry,
our,
state funds to install it. So, how do all those? I don't know how all those things play together. Like,
it's a
who
public,
actually?
it's a publicly owned property that
Right.
we have dominion, I'm not gonna use the word dominion, but authority over.
Right. So we have some authority there.
yeah,
Recreation
and
has a whole bunch.
Right, and if someone wants to utilize the field for a different purpose, or to add, in this case, lights or things of that nature, the Board of Selectmen will refer to us to look into.
So let's imagine soccer wants to go play there, but these guys have a game scheduled. Who decides that kind of thing? Is that
We don't
right?
get involved in the
We don't, but does-
day-to-day
does recreation?
operations. Recreation would be involved with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that how you guys operate? It's with recreation?
They're an independent league.
No, I understand, but I'm trying to understand how the town functions with this property, right? Because Cupop doesn't get involved in scheduling games or who has access. That falls on recreation,
So,
right?
I know we're past public comment. I have the answer.
No, I'm just, yeah,
I
yeah,
have
I'm
the
just,
answer for you because I served on recreation.
I don't know how that
for
works.
yeah.
So,
You like me to answer, and I'll be happy to answer.
yeah, no, please, Bob, or anyone else.
Okay, so twice a year, used to be, first come in, got the field. Twice a year, the recreation department actually reviews the request for use of the fields,
Okay.
okay? And typically what happens is, it's a priority order that recreation or town-sponsored leagues.
Sure.
Bethwood is a sponsored league, the Woodbridge Soccer League is a sponsored league, lacrosse, they're the sponsored
Sure.
leagues. they get first dibs. They submit their schedules in terms of when they want to use the fields. After that, residents, say adult leagues or whatever it is, they get second dibs there. And they gotta provide a roster of the people who are playing in those leagues to make sure they are mostly Woodbridge residents. It then goes to like the school, whether it be the high school, the middle school, or someone like that wants to use it. And then you start working towards outside groups.
Okay.
You know, AAU teams and things like that, that have to pay for.
But it falls on recreation to do that part. Okay.
And what happens is they look at all it. It used to be Jim Franco, and I guess John DeMayo now will go through and sort through the schedules,
Sure.
and they approve the use of the schedules that are submitted. And then that way, if there are openings in the schedule, and someone comes along later and say, "Hey, I see that spot's open. Could I use the field at that time?" Then they're granted at that
Okay.
point. So.
Thank
Okay.
you, Bob.
Appreciate it.
Okay, all right. So who will be presenting on behalf of Bethwood this evening?
Okay, two of us come on?
You can.
Yeah.
I don't know how many chairs we have though, so you may have to add one.
You just tell me if you,
Yes.
Yes, please.
and then just tell me if you guys want me to slide forward or how you want to do that.
Yeah, I think we've got some good overview already, so if you want to go to project overview, we can probably start there. We got some history of the Bethwood already from Bob.
So just to give a little intro, my name's Jeremy Rosner. I live at 7 Phone Drive here in Woodbridge. I have little guys that play baseball. My 12-year-old played for a number of years and doesn't play any longer. And my 10-year-old is currently probably going to be playing in majors as a young majors player. And I've been coaching in the league since 2018 or 19. And I'm currently the secretary of the Bethwood board.
Yeah, my name is Patrick Lewis. I live at 163 Center Road, and I've been coaching for a number of years as well and have a son in the program. And I also own an electrical company, which is kind of how I'm involved in this with designing it and running through the process and helping Bethwood come up with what could be a good resolution for the town and for everybody.
So, we've had an overview of sort of Bethwood and what we've done over the years, but just to give you just a little bit of a history, like Bob mentioned earlier, Bethwood was originally founded in 1972 as a Woodbridge Fathers League. It's created by parents who just wanted to have a more competitive game of baseball for their children to grow up in town. Over the decades, Bethwood's grown from to include children from the ages of 4 to 16. We offer T-ball, rookies, which is coach pitch or machine pitch now, minors and majors. We also have a softball league for girls and Babe Ruth programs. A lot of kids, a lot of families involved in Bethwood. All of them congregate at various parts of the town for practices, down at West River, up at Acorn. The league is completely volunteer run. We've got a board of about 18 dads and moms that are very devoted to the league, and we meet regularly and talk about everything from safety to how we're going to facilitate the league. Recently we've been doing AED classes for coaches and things like that, so we can have proper safety for folks if God forbid something happens on the field to any of our kids. We're trying to get everyone prepared for that kind of stuff. Over the years, we've donated many things to the town, from the safety fences that are currently there, the permanent dugouts that are there at Acorn Field, the batting cages, the Preds booths, the scoreboards that are currently up there. They renovated the storage facilities, and they've made a donation every year to the town. I think we give $3,000 or $4,000 every year to the town, to Parks and Recs, to help us, just to keep up with the fields and stuff up there. That's sort of it. We're not looking to cause a problem here. We want to install lights so the kids can play ball in the fall. Typically now, in the fall, we are unable to practice during the week, period. We can't practice during the week because it's out at 5. Kids get out of school, parents are out of work at 5, and it's dark. So we have to practice on the weekends, and we play our games during the week traveling to other towns. Occasionally on the weekends we'll have a day game at our home fields, but we also have practices, so we can't do both. So in order for us to practice and play games, we play our practices during the weekends here during the day, and we go to other fields of other towns that have lights so we can play games against them at night, which is great. The kids love to go play under the lights. It's a great opportunity for them and all that kind of stuff. So what we've been trying to do is try to figure out a way that we can work with everyone in the town to give our kids the opportunity to be able to play ball in the fall, have those practices that we want to have, and enhance the ability to have more people go and play baseball all the time. Right now, we only have West River 3 that's currently able to be played other than the Acorn Fields. And 3 fields is not enough for 400 kids we have playing baseball right now. So we figured with a new lighting system that we can control and keep at a proper schedule so as not to interfere with the neighbors and not to bother folks. We could allow our kids to play games in the fall during the week, or play practices during the week, during the fall, 5 o'clock to 6:30. Lights are off. We're not looking to stay up late or do anything silly like that. It's just so we can actually use the town and have our league run like other towns do. So we'll go into what we're trying to do with the lights, and Pat will give you a little more information on the overview of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, part of this as well is just technology of LEDs today, and the fact that, putting up stadium lights doesn't mean glaring arrays at neighbors and into neighbors' windows and light pollution into the night. And we're certainly not looking to, change the town appeal or the residential neighborhood. And we're not looking to, have games at midnight here and have traffic at 10 o'clock at night. That's not what we're looking to accomplish. We're looking to, be able to train and put our kids through a decent program and have the practices and the games that, that they deserve, right? That they're entitled to, get the education and the training that they need. So, starting on our project overview is to install modern LED directional lighting with light guards, enable evening practices and games, and improve safety and usability, and support the youth programs here in our town. Right, we understand the limitations and the challenges currently that we have right now are daylight hours and restricted fields and seasonal constraints due to scheduling flexibility. We can have maybe one team practice once a week if we're lucky in the fall, and that's just not enough for these kids today. They need more than one practice, they need more training, they need more coaching than that, so we're just missing those opportunities. Our solution for that is to propose and put LED lighting at the 2 fields there at Encorn 2. We think that it's the best 2 fields to invest that time and energy into due to the conditions that they're in. This would be automatically controlled LED lighting. This is not off by a switch, off by a time clock, on all the time. This is on when you need it, directionally purposed, and with override timers and full, state-of-the-art controls. We would work with Parks and Rec and town to set those limitations and make sure that they, meet all the requirements that the town proposes for us. So the key benefits of that, obviously, are extended hours of play and practice, increased safety for our players and our spectators, enhanced field value and utilization, positive impact on the town. Every child of every league can now have a chance to play underneath the lights. I'm sure everybody, went and played with their children at some point under the lights on a field, and it's a particular event, right? It's a memorable, it's a life-changing event for these children to be able to play baseball underneath the lights at night. So that would put us on par with all the other surrounding towns that we are already traveling to utilize these, these fields that already have them. Milford has them, Oxford has them, Orange has them, Wilkett, New Haven, North Haven, West Haven, Branford, Cheshire, Guilford. I mean, all of our surrounding towns have, lights on their fields so that these kids can play how they need to play. So our steps forward here and what we're looking to do is try to get some approvals and move forward in hopes that, our kids can play underneath the lights for the next fall season. The cost of the project we have allocated here, one more. We've allocated on here, this would be a no out-of-pocket to the town expense. Beth would raise all the funds to do this, and we would hold the accounts entirely, including the added electricity, and set up the new electrical account to house those lights. So it'd be zero out-of-pocket, zero maintenance, zero installation from the town at all. We're not looking for any money from the town. We will raise all of it. We had a rendering done to kind of show what these would look like. Obviously, they would be steel poles. They'd be about 60 feet tall, and there would be 4 at each field. We did a night rendering. We had professional photometrics done that show us that we have safety lighting on here for your pathways light, your parking lots are lit, your pathway to the bathroom, and it also shows zero light output onto the sky as well as onto any of the neighboring properties. So there's 0 foot candles on any of the neighboring properties. It's all directional LED lighting.
Yeah, if you look at these blown up on an image, you can see that it's got all the little light candles on it, and when you can see them go to 0, that's where the light.
Yeah, long before it hits another property. Yep. And that's really it. We have some diagrams here, some pictures of what they would look like. And the purpose of our request is to try to get approvals to do this for the betterment of our children.
Can I ask some questions about your night games and things of that nature? What time, because you go to other towns to play, what time are your night games and when are they completed?
They typically start, just for travel purposes, they typically start around, at the latest, 6:30, and they're 2-hour limits. So they're over, like, at 2 hours, the umpires are out the door. So the games are over. And
Yeah, the rules say that you can't start a new inning after hour 45, I believe it is, for most leagues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not legally allowed to run it any longer than that. The umpires are going to shut it off.
And you indicated that for your league in the fall, during fall ball, it was many years since my son played. I think everybody's sons have played at some point. But you indicated that the games are during the week. And how often are they during the week typically? Are they once a week or?
Once or twice.
Once or twice a week? Okay.
In the fall.
In the fall. We're traveling to other towns that have lights at their field in order to do that.
And in the summer, because obviously it's like longer, you don't typically go beyond, there's no need for lighting in the summertime typically?
I mean, maybe last half an hour of a game or something, it could turn on for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm, okay.
You know, sometimes if there's a delay, a rain delay or something, and the game starts a little bit later than it should, you know, if it's a cloudy night or whatever, but no, there's no night games.
And the type of lighting, and I know that the high school recently went through a lighting ordinance change with TPZ within the last maybe 2 years or so. And I'm not a lighting expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm assuming that the technology has changed since 1972, which is a good year. That's when I was born. But you know what, and how can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, of course I
You
can.
showed
So,
a
I mean,
picture, David, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
pulling
if you
that
pull up the
picture
photometrics or even the nighttime picture there, I mean, that will clearly tell you, you know, so back in the day, that would have lit up the entire woods around it. You would have had no directional LED lighting how you have now. You would have had a bulb that just shot out with, you know, focuses on it, right? And it's just spreading out. It's lighting the sky. It's looking like, you know, that glow that you see all over the place. Now with directional LED lighting, it has guards on it, and it is pinpointing directly down at the field with zero glow into the sky, zero glow anywhere that it wants to. We actually use a laser pointer to aim these things. So you set up laser pointers exactly of where these things are supposed to go, and they spread no light pollution at all. I mean, technology has immensely changed in the last 10 years, let alone the last 50 years. But I mean, even LED from 10 years ago to today is an immensely different type of LED with, you know, zero light export and zero light into the sky. So it's completely dark sky compatible, right? It meets those limitations.
Is there a field near us that you would recommend, should we want to go and see a field that has this type of technology to ensure that?
Absolutely. Oxford just did it last year, the year before, they just had it done. Yep. So
Oxford did?
Yeah, they're a close by field. That'd be a great place to go look. Theirs is on, you know, old wooden poles, and, you know, what they told us, because we did our research as well, is their biggest regret is not having, you know, controls on it, right? Just having a switch on and off or a time clock on and off, whereas ours will be internet-based hub where it will be electronically, and you'll have overrides, and the town can have control and all such, right? So anybody can override these things, so they can't ever be put on after a certain time.
But we wouldn't be able to see that now because the fields aren't being used now, so we'd
Yeah,
have to
correct. They
wait.
just get put on as they're used. Yeah, so it'd be you'd have to go see a game or know when a
right.
game is for sure. Yeah.
Or ask Oxford to
Timing.
turn them on for us.
Right,
It's
Yeah,
almost
right,
April though. They'll be
right.
starting to practice soon.
That's right.
right, that's true.
Yep.
We're almost there.
What's the fall season? How late does it go?
In terms of how late in the
Like date.
season?
Yeah.
November is the very beginning of November would be the end of that season. That's over. And it never really even used to go to November in the past. I think it's just recently, like, the weather's
Yeah.
been pushing stuff, and, you know, we've had a lot of rain delays. So in the fall we mix with a bunch of towns together. So everyone travels a little bit more, but we travel everywhere. For whatever reason, this past year we had so much rain in the fall that they pushed it. I think we went to November 11th was the last day of the season or something like that.
So your regular season, let's just pinpoint the time frames here. So your regular season starts, I know you have on the
April.
green, April to when? April to June-ish?
Early June.
Early
April,
June?
Early
right.
June.
And
Yeah.
that is all-star season. They practice and we host tournaments there as well.
And when is All-Stars again?
Goes until the end of July,
Okay.
early August.
And then you have a time off, and then when does fall begin? Fall ball?
Early September.
Early September? And then that goes until November-ish, depending on weather.
Early.
Yeah.
Early November.
Yeah.
And games during the week, you indicated maybe 2 games during the week, and it's a rule that you can't go, at the hour 45, they start, winding down the game, and you
Yep.
can't go beyond 2 hours. And you indicated that they would typically be around 6:30-ish, did I get that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be the latest that they would start.
Uh-huh.
How many
Okay.
kids are in
Typically it's-
spring, summer, fall? I mean, today.
So for this spring, we're gonna have 4 majors teams. So we're gonna have about 50 kids in majors, about 60 kids in minors,
Yeah, 5
I
teams.
think it's about 350.
350 kids total.
And from rookie team all the way up.
Okay.
So 350 in all 3 seasons?
Oh, all 3.
Sorry, and
No,
this
it's less in the
spring
fall.
season is about 350.
About 350?
All the teams from
Okay.
team all the way up.
Yeah, it's less in the fall.
Spring's the biggest?
Yes.
Spring's
Yes.
the biggest, yeah.
So then All-Stars is much less, right, whittles down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then fall is, I assume much less, kids are doing other sports and also with all the travel. right?
Yeah, I think in the fall we had 3 minors teams and 2 majors teams this past fall. So it was actually, there's more and more kids actually signing up the last couple of years than in the past. So it's actually nice. We're growing the league, which has been great.
And if you were able to have practice during the fall, during the week, what would be I know you probably have no idea, but what would be a typical schedule for that in terms of?
5:30 to 7.
Yeah.
I mean, these practices are like 5:30. If we could have practices in the fall under lights, we would talk about what would work best for the town and us. I would think that we could probably have practices that would go from, it depends if we did hour practices or hour and a half practices. We may be able to have 2 teams come in. It depends on what we would be allowed to do, and we would work with everyone in trying to figure out the right schedule. But I mean, if you could have a practice that came on at 5 o'clock and then that ended at 6:15, another one came on at 6:30 and it ended at 8, maybe we could do that. But typically I would say 5:30 to 7 would be when a practice would be.
And there aren't lights at the West River, right? There aren't lights there?
No.
No.
Okay. So currently, there is no practice during the week. You're traveling for games
In
and
the fall?
practicing during
In
the
the
day
fall,
on the weekend in the fall.
We're going there for 5 or 5:30, depending on when kids can show up, and we're leaving when it gets dark. So, I mean, we're lucky to get an hour in. We're barely, by the time we organize, 12 to 16 kids and get them through a couple drills, we're having to wrap up.
A similar problem to what Bob mentioned on P's for soccer, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
there aren't any
Yeah.
lights to be able to practice during the week.
Sure.
Okay.
This package is just for lighting. It's not scoreboards, concessions,
No,
toilets,
absolutely
nothing.
not. No,
Just the
definitely not.
lighting.
Nope.
So that's
Definitely
the only
not.
thing
This is
that you're proposing.
only lighting for the field and safety egress lighting out of the fields, right? Because you have a pathway to light, we have a parking lot that we need to make sure has the correct photometrics for everybody to leave, but no overspray from there, so just safety, yeah.
Yeah.
And
This
there-
would be no timer. This would be you manually or however it's
No,
done.
this is a automatic, this is under a computer system, so you have a full program. It can have a end oversight, it can flash and give people an extra 10 minutes to walk out of there, and the stadium lights will be separately controlled from that pathway light out, so we can shut down the fields and then give everybody 20 minutes to get out there safely and have the fields dark already, yeah.
And if you were to host a tournament, aren't there regulations that you do need to have concessions and toilets and certain
For the
things?
state
For the
tournament,
state
yeah.
tournament,
For
for sure,
state
yeah,
tournament.
so this would
So
not,
that would
this
never-
would not
That would
allow
not
us to
happen
do
at this
that,
location.
no.
Okay.
No, the only things we currently host as tournaments, and they're awesome, is the 8U Friendship Tournament, which if you've never been to it before, it's like the cutest thing in the world. It's our machine pitch 8 and under tournament. We team up with, I don't know, like 16 or 20 other towns. I think we had 20 teams from all the way out to, I don't know, Haddam to Norwalk. We had teams of 8-year-olds that came. We play a season. We go. Everyone plays games at their own fields, and then at the end we have a tournament at Acorn, and we have these families come in. It's wonderful. And we have this little tournament, and none of them are played at night. There's amplified sound only with like a little speaker system that we take out of the shed and put in our little system, and that's only used for the championship game. So announce the kids do the national anthem, like Bob mentioned, to play music in between the innings. But we're not looking to blow up the sound. We're not installing speakers. We're not doing any of those things. We don't want to have sound. Like there's no need for it really. We want to play baseball. The lights are so we can play baseball. The sound is an aesthetic that's not necessary at all.
Yeah, and again, we're not trying to prolong the time that we're playing baseball. We're just trying to continue to play within those constraints.
Would these lights be exclusively for you guys to use? So like if soccer wanted to play and you guys weren't there?
They're gonna, I mean, the power for them would be controlled by Bethwood Baseball and paid for by Bethwood Baseball. So my assumption is, if approved, it would be locked out for Bethwood only.
So there's also
They
no
don't-
soccer field?
There's no soccer field there, it's all
Right.
baseball.
No,
playing
but-
diamonds.
I mean, they could come-
It's a theoretical question, right? Just trying to understand it. So,
Yeah.
so if you guys are paying for the lights, but they're on town land, but you're paying for the install, I mean, but then the power is the league is paying for that. If
Yeah.
someone else wanted to pay for it, they could turn on the lights and go, or is that not the proposal?
I'm sure they could.
I would say that I would leave it open because I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't be figured out. If the soccer program wanted to use the middle field,
But it's not falling on recreation to manage that? Like, I'm asking, like, okay, let's say they're installed, whose responsibility is that? Right?
Beth.
That's more what I'm asking.
definitely.
Bethwood's
Bethwood.
responsibility.
Okay.
All right, do you guys have any other questions? Aaron, Dan?
I'm curious, has anyone done the evaluation about using other land to add a field, let's say, more centrally located in less direct residential area, like the parts of Pease that are currently not part of the new plan?
There's no
Bethwood, in
diamonds.
my experience, Bethwood Baseball has looked for decades for to add additional fields to the 3 that they have, given the amount of teams that they, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is from back when I was in it, but have always tried to advocate to add another field to be able to practice,
Each
right, with
field
all the
is like
teams.
2 acres, right?
Yeah, I think once
Yeah.
upon a time there was a whole fund there was a whole fundraising effort to
Mm-hmm.
come up with the Field of Dreams, and it was going to be a 90-foot diamond that was going to be in the Pease area, and that
Where
was
we
creating
have-
and building a whole new baseball field.
I mean,
With
there's all that
fence and
land
everything
behind
that goes
the
with
fire
it.
department.
Yeah, and from my experience from driving
Dwellings.
town to town, I mean, I don't know a baseball field that's not in a residential neighborhood across the state of
Right.
Connecticut.
Right.
I mean, generically speaking, they're all in residential neighborhoods.
It's definitely something we could always keep in mind when we do review the properties, right, for recreational uses and things like that, but, yeah, all right. Thanks.
Thank you for hearing us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you very much.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I don't want to be out of order, but I didn't have a chance to hear the presentation before I spoke. So I just would like to offer a friendly reminder to everybody in the room that when we negotiated the no lights, it wasn't so much for the off-site lighting, but it was understood that it was the flora and buffer around there during the extended daylight hours that created a natural buffer for the surrounding houses. When you introduce light in a shorter season, in fall for instance, and there's no foliage, we lost that natural buffer. And it's not the lights that are so much gonna bother us, because you demonstrated that maybe that's adequately controlled. It's the sound and activities, because we no longer have that natural buffer here. And you're creating activities after hours in a season where that natural buffer is no longer a benefit to us. So we lost that. And these are all things that we thought about back in the day when we negotiated this, and that was why we reached the agreement we did with the town, because these things were thought through. It wasn't just a half-ass. We thought it through long-term, where you tried to come up with a solution that would be a long-term solution for everybody involved. And again, I just feel that it's unfair that we have to go back and try to renegotiate it now, because technology does not change the impact it has on the traffic, the lack of natural buffer during that fall season. None of that changes, nor will technology ever change that. And that was the reason that the town and our neighborhood support group reached an agreement with all those things being considered. And if it weren't for my efforts in promoting these ball fields, we would have missed that window on the grant. You wouldn't have talked about these fields today, because it wouldn't be there, you wouldn't have had the money. We could have stopped it, and we didn't. And now I'm trusting you to live up to your words as a town and as a league. You made us a promise, and now you're trying to go back on it well, technology's improved. It doesn't change the impact it's gonna have, and it's wrong. I'm not asking what you can do legally, I'm asking what you should do morally, and morally is wrong. We had an agreement, you got your fields, we helped you get them, and now we want to go back in your agreement. It's just outright wrong.
You know, thank you for your comments. Thank you for coming, everybody, and I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
By the way, there's one other thing, we can look at the full package in the minutes that were provided from that meeting. The complex was approved as a multi-use field situation. It wasn't exclusive for baseball. So the middle section and some of the other amenities that are there
Right.
was meant not just for baseball, it's for soccer on that field, have
Okay.
games in the middle. I think.
We'll review it.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Bob. Thank you. Okay, moving on to what was originally number 6, but is now number 7. Property review. And Dan, we waited for you to come because you were here last meeting for the Forest Road properties.
Sure. So
I don't think we have any updates.
I was just, yeah, the only update here since the last meeting is that I've typed up the report,
Yes,
the
you
draft
did.
of the report, and I think the only thing left there was a placeholder for any recommendation we might want to add beyond, as the report's written, it's just kind of, this is the status, this is what we know about the property, this is what the topography looks like, that sort of thing.
And just to recap, because it was a month or so since we talked about it last, the topography was rather flat. There were no,
Relatively
if any,
flat.
limited wetlands,
There are
right?
some wetlands, but not extensive, from looking at the map. But not extensive wetlands. It's wooded right now, and it is adjacent to other forestry that the town also owns. That appears, it's a big tract that I think might be a little hillier than the old Woodbridge Heights subdivision land. So, there are a few pockets, there are a few pieces that are in private ownership, but the town does own a relatively large, either you'd say it's one contiguous piece of property or, could be divided into a couple. So that's the current status of it. It's zoned residential. Some of the properties, but not all of them, have restrictive covenants on them, and I understand restrictive covenants are on the agenda for later tonight as well. But that's the overview of what it is today. And the only thing missing from the report, or I guess potentially missing, is whether we want to add a specific recommendation at the end, or just kind of say this is something that's no present change in use, but the first selectman might consider, or the board of selectmen might consider, various potential uses going forward. I don't know that we need a firm recommendation on what to do with it, beyond just.
Well, it did come up when I was asked, I should have started this in my comments, but I was asked to attend the Board of Selectmen meeting a few weeks ago. And when we were discussing 2 of the properties that we're going to be talking about later on 38 Milan and 52 Brookwood. And the theater lots did come up as well, and that will be a discussion that will be had at the Board of Selectmen meeting when I present the 11th. For 2 reasons. First is the increase for affordable housing stock in town. And secondly, to potentially be part of a discussion regarding our budget discussions coming up this season and what we should do with those properties. I did bring to the attention of the Board of Selectmen that we are almost completed with our Category 3. We're very close to being clear with Category 3 properties, and that as of now, we really only recommended a handful, if that. I think I said 4 or 3 or 4 that could even potentially be looked at for any type of opportunity housing in town. So certainly like 38 and 52, and we did when you were not here last. When did we meet? I feel like it was last
It was like
week.
2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it was last week.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we voted on 312 Rimmon. So we could certainly vote on Forest becoming another potential location for housing of some sort. Now, your report is very detail-oriented, and I did tell the Board of Selectmen, and I did also say you did a great job on this, because you researched all of these deeds, some of which were very problematic, and some of which we still do not have. So I encouraged everyone to, when we post your slideshow presentation on the website, to review it, and I said, to watch the meeting, because it's very informative, let's just say, regarding those properties, and should they decide to utilize it for something other than what it is right now, they are definitely, the town attorney is going to have to address some of the gaps in that information, so.
Do we ever look at would it make sense for the town to, I don't know what the term is, but not subdivide, but the opposite of subdivide, and collapse all those individual properties into a single?
That's what the thought, yeah.
So just to clarify on that, the town owns all of the different properties that it owns, various lots from the original subdivision. On the GIS map, some of them are combined into what appear to be larger properties with street addresses, but there's those puzzle pieces essentially are more or less meaningless. The town can convey as much or as little of it together as it wants to.
But aren't there zoning regulations about what you can do on an individual property?
On an individual plot from the subdivision map.
So you'd be superseding all that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Right, if you combine 3 of them and build a house,
right.
it was like, it has to be better than $1,000 or whatever.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, the restrictive covenants that are on them are for residential construction, and it's something like minimum value of $3,000 because it's in 1935 numbers.
I think we'll hit that.
And so, but the way that they were conveyed, even from the original developer, sometimes it was 2 lots to Jane Doe. Sometimes it was 5 lots to John Doe. There's nothing that says that the subdivision lots have to be kept singularly, and likewise, there's nothing that requires the town. The town owns that land. It can, remap it, re-subdivide it, however the terminology is, however it wants it, owns it. So if you pull it up on the map, it shows, the address is 1 Forest Road and 7 Forest Road, whatever they are. But those addresses don't really mean anything. They're just, someone had to
Plot it out.
give street addresses to these at some point in time. So yes, the town could, if it were to, sell some of the property or whatever, it could, as long as it's working within the land that it actually owns, draw up the boundaries differently. And what was once, like all of Block A of the old subdivision is now part of 2 individual residences that are there. I think one has a Pease Road address and one has a Jeremy Garden Lane address. But those old subdivision lines don't show up on the GIS map because the developer selling when they combined 20 of these into one lot, that was part of a new subdivision map for that new Jeremy Garden Lane.
But they had to go through a recording process to do that.
Right. So the deeds all tracked. They eventually end up in the name of the developer, and then the developer, I guess, filed a new subdivision map with the town that overrode. So those little rectangles don't appear on the map anymore. But
For our purposes, because we do own, as Dan's saying, a lot of those pieces, we could convey all of those pieces as one sale to one developer, let's say, to create affordable housing, right? That's what the town could do, or they could divide it up and only sell.
Right, and any division they would
Yeah.
do doesn't necessarily have to follow. You'd have to keep track of which land ends up where, particularly because some of the subdivision lots have restrictive covenants on them and some do not. You'd have to keep track of what's what, but they don't necessarily have to follow that shape, and they don't necessarily have to follow the current lines on the map because it's all owned by the town. So
Right.
it looks like Dave's pulling it up now, and you'll see that they are divided up into there it is. A couple
Well, you
big
can see
blocks,
that. There
but
they
yeah, you can
are.
see the little rectangles. Those are the original subdivision parcels. But if you click on number 13 there, maybe Dave, or not 13, whatever's below 13, north of the Forest Road there. Like that block, yeah, click there. So that all shows up as one block, even though the town didn't acquire that all at one time necessarily. Because when the
It's
street
one
address
owner.
was assigned, that was combined. But like Forest Road, right below it, that paper road that's listed as number 22, it looks like, that's also owned by the town. So in theory, that purple could spread to that other land with that single click. It's just they're listed as separate properties there. But the town owns all of it. That it
So the
owns.
town, to Dan's point, could take that entire purple block and give it, and convey it to one person, or one entity, I should say. Or divide it up however they would like. But they always, as to Dan's point, have to keep in mind any restrictive language, you know, covenants within those deeds. So, and can you remind us again, oh, Dave, was that another big purple block on the
So there are
bottom?
several there. So north of Forest Road, so that is town owned. Yep.
Yeah,
That is town owned, and then there are a couple of those ones that are demarcated as sort of like individual little islands in there. One or two of those have also come into the town's possession since this map was drawn up. So they show up as separate rectangles here, but the town owns them now as well.
okay, yep.
So
And
I
you
think-
have the updated map within your
Yeah, so I think
presentation.
one or two of those on the north side there still is a little island, but one of them the town recently acquired from the state of Connecticut, I think in 2024, and then some of them show up in the records as being owned by individuals, but from talking to the tax people,
We don't know who they, yeah.
the address is not current. When the tax bill goes out, it gets returned to sender. They haven't foreclosed on it because the amount owed is so small that it's not, doesn't meet the threshold that they would usually wait for before they would pursue something like a foreclosure. But based on the information we know, it is likely that, you know,
They don't
a
even know.
foreclosure would be successful, I suppose, if the town wanted.
One's highlighted are town-owned officially. I don't know if there's more, but.
Right, but so-
Town owns- yeah.
So those are the ones that are town-owned, but there are others that likely are eligible for foreclosure because they owe like 50 years of property tax.
Make it a bigger piece of property.
That if the town were intent on doing something with it, it might be worth the hassle
Yeah,
to determine the title to those few pieces. If the town's not going to do anything with the land, it's certainly not worth the time and effort and money to, you know, foreclose on a tiny little chunk of property, even if technically it's you know, legally available, because that takes time and money to do. But the town might, in theory, be able to acquire a couple more of those if it wanted to, and if it were, you know, beneficial to doing something with the property at large,
yeah.
it might become worthwhile from a
And this
cost
is not
perspective.
on the public watershed, it's not on the public watershed. It is not a public watershed property, correct?
No, it's up on top of the hill.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I don't-
further up.
It's not like a swampland. I don't know if
Right.
it's technically in it.
I think, did
I'd
I
have to
send
pull that
the
up.
utilities map to you, Dave, a while ago? I can do it again to pull it up, but I just
It'll be
wanted to
here.
confirm that.
Is it in here?
It should be.
The utilities is 2 more down, right?
Is that what it's in?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I can send it back over to you. So what, do you recall the amount, the total amount of acreage there, if you were to add everything up?
I just looked it up, it's 925.
Oh, that's a good size.
Yeah, that's a good
If you add
chunk.
them all up together, those,
Put a baseball field there.
I think we have a,
So I did want to
Affordable
mention,
housing project.
yeah, so just for consideration, the purple I've highlighted up here, 44, is town land. This strip coming down is town land as well. Sorry, not that, this number 7. And I just mention it because if we're looking to do more trail systems, things like that, there's already some trails in here. This is that Park Lane area where there's already some trails coming down to the business district.
right,
And if you wander through here, you can make it over to the country club. So if we're looking to connect a whole bunch of trails,
do a multi-use property use.
right, or if the town wants to put housing there, put in some easements that say, hey, by the way, there's a trail here, or potentially a trail there, right? So that's a, if you're trying to connect the country club of Woodbridge to the downtown, this
Yep.
is the property that does that, so.
And we can use it for both.
Yeah.
We
I just sent it to you,
Need to have
Dave.
a tram to go down the hill.
Did you get it?
Oh, on my phone?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna email it to
It's
you.
okay.
So you got that on your computer.
I can,
Do you want me to send it to you to email?
yeah.
Okay. Hold, please. We're very technical here.
All
I'm
kinds of
sending this
gadgets
to
going
you.
around tonight. These new
There's lots
screens.
happening.
Yep.
Okay, no subject. Um, so I'm sending you the utility. I just
what-
want to confirm that's not on the public watershed. That's a whole other zoning issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
I don't think it
close.
is. I think it's too far down to be included in that. It's actually the bonus for an ability to do that. The downside is it doesn't have sewer or water, but it's not on the public watershed, which is a major bonus because that really limits your ability on what you can and cannot do. Even though I'm pretty sure all of Zone A is on a public watershed, but I think all of our houses are probably on a watershed, but.
So your emails are up. Are you looking for something?
It's just on the screen. It's
That's
not-
Dave's. Dave,
Yeah, yeah,
did you get it?
Not yet. I'm sending it to myself.
yeah. What is our next step? I'm getting.
On this?
Yeah.
Is making a recommendation if we wanted to change of use of this
Yeah, the
property or
report
not?
is basically written except for the recommendation section at the
Okay.
end, because we've been discussing a little bit,
Yeah.
but haven't landed on a.
What is the current?
I mean, we could, so based on what Dave's saying, and we said it was 9.5 acres, give or take, and it could be utilized as a block, and we have the potential for the two, we'll call them island properties, to be foreclosed on due to lack of payment of taxes, to be able to, make a bigger block. I'm calling them island properties, I don't know how else to describe
Yeah.
them.
Parking spots.
Parking spots.
They're
Yeah, they're
little
very small.
sliver.
We could make a recommendation to change the use to housing and
connection.
trails, expansion of the greenway
It's up in
expansion
A.
plan. Or connectivity with trails if it's not in the greenway plan. Yeah, it's not in the public watershed. Which is good.
Right.
Yes, it's down there.
It's up.
It's up in
It's
A's.
off.
Yeah.
Yep. So that actually takes away another limitation. And again, this was brought up at the Board of Selectmen meeting. I can't recall who brought it up. I think more than one person. So it's certainly going to be a property that is discussed as we move forward in addressing the, getting to moratorium and, 830G moratorium and moving forward on that. But again, ultimately, it's Board of Selectmen's decision, not ours. And actually, it has to be, voted on by the town, technically, so.
But the
they are
current
the
use
ones-
is residential, right? So are we suggesting a change of use, or we're just saying, here's some more residential
I mean,
land that can be used?
I'll make a motion to recommend change in use to housing and trail connectivity, to Dave's point, and that may be something we'll have to add in the report though. To show the connectivity, if that's the direction we go, between, I think that's Park Lane, right, Dave? 44 Park Lane and 80 Park Lane property, that giant
The big one is
purple
44.
blob next to it. And I think I'm gonna send you the Greenway expansion plan if you don't have it already, and I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it's in there. And it would connect through Park Lane.
So it's 44 is the big property,
I was close. Did I
And
say
then
40?
7.
7 is the strip
And
that
that's-
comes across.
Right.
What's the street? 7. Sorry, I can't remember. Is that
And that's a
Fountain Road?
Woodbridge Land Trust, 7 Women Road.
Oh,
Right,
it's
so
not
I'm gonna
town.
look we'll look
So?
on the Greenway
Not town.
expansion plan and see if it's specifically articulated within the plan, which I'm sure it is, to connect, to Dave's point, through the Park Lane properties to the country club on one side, right, Dave? And then on the other side, what does it connect to, if anything? It must connect to something,
Yeah,
right?
so the pink is the trails right now.
Oh,
So
God, I
you
have to
already
see that.
have trails in 44. These are the ones that go down to Selden area and
Yeah.
and Business District. And what I'm getting at
What
is,
missing piece would this provide?
It would allow you to connect
So-
from those all the way down to the country.
so right now the trail goes down Park Lane, the road. This
Oh.
potentially, you could move this trail into the woods,
Yeah.
down this, if Woodbridge Land Trust would allow it, and then you'd connect it in the same area without going on a physical road.
So a safer passage, essentially.
Safer passage, meant for hiking, not for, like, and again, that Park Lane, the actual road here, if you guys have ever been down, it's very narrow.
small.
I mean, there's not a lot of cars, because it's a cul-de-sac, but it's not, there's no sidewalks or like anything of that, like, areas to walk. But, so,
Okay,
lots
so I
of
haven't made a
trails.
motion, I just was talking, so I guess I'll make a, I'm gonna, okay, let me make a motion.
Restate your motion, right?
I'm gonna restate my motion.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Let me think about how I can do this very clearly. Okay. That's definitely in the Greenway expansion plan. Okay. I'm going to make a motion to change the use for multi-use housing and trail connectivity. That's very specific, right? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Did you get that, Tony? Pretty good, right? Okay. Okay. Any discussion on this?
So I think the only thing it's, looking at the utility map, it's not, so it'd be right here, if I'm looking at it right,
Uh-huh.
right where my cursor is.
Yes,
So it's not sewer or
correct.
water.
So it would limit,
So assuming we keep our TP&Z rules, you'd really be limited to not much, right?
Well,
So you could do a couple residential house, like on that size land, you'd be limited to a couple residential houses, or.
or
what
spot zoning of some sort for a project. But that's a
spot-
TPZ thing, that's not us. TPZ, this is why we're supposed to have a TPZ ex officio member here to answer these questions. They are in the process of looking at their regulations for many different reasons. One so being that there is a deadline of July 1st for the business district, and they pulled back those changes, right, because of what occurred on Fountain, so that they have time to review them, and they're working with the town planner. So I'm not quite sure what the TPZ regulations will be once a decision is made by the Board of Selectmen, but for our purposes, whatever regulations are currently or at that point will be, right? Because we don't have any control over that. But for, I guess, our purposes, is there a way for this property to serve a better interest for Woodbridge? And then I made the motion that it could be utilized for some type of housing, whatever it could be, and connecting the trail system.
Yep.
And for reasons that you mentioned, which, Dan, I will try to make that clear if that's the direction we go, and give you that information. So,
Yeah, so,
all right.
no, I'm following. My point was just in the discussion, just to.
It could
note-
either be a few houses, right, like you said, like a few little
Based on the
single-family houses, a few little duplexes, or, you know,
or if a contractor wants to come in and resurface Park Lane, they extend sewer down Park Lane.
well, Park Lane is that property, that's
I'm
restricted.
talking about the street,
Oh, the street, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
right? I mean, that's how you do it, is you
There's a lot of what-ifs here.
extend utilities. Because
Right.
that would extend sewer
Right.
to all those properties.
Yes, it would. So, okay.
Could I just say something? I'm just looking at the minutes from December 15th. And just something you mentioned was that there were 6 properties that you thought in your recommendation for the town to maybe do a title search.
Yes, so
Right.
that,
I just wanted to
yeah,
refresh everybody's memory on that.
that touches on the island discussion, that, before any
The island
formal action
properties.
would need to be taken,
Right.
like a formal title search would need to be taken that's more official than what I did. There were some that I reached a dead end on that based on my conversation with tax collector. I believe that whoever's listed as the owner there is probably not currently the person who is the legal owner to that property, that probably passed, sort of unbeknownst to the people involved through, somebody's estate long ago as just part of their residual property, but if no taxes have been paid on it in 20, 50, 60 years, then if the town wanted to, it could probably take action. You'd probably need to do some kind of
Right.
more involved research than I did to determine how to effectuate that, but,
And it wouldn't be, to your point, as you indicated, would it be worth it maybe for something as small as this little property, but if they're looking at it in a bigger picture, it could be, it'd be.
right, I mean, if the Board of Selectmen or the town were to decide that they don't wanna sell the land and wanna just keep it as it is sort of, wooded open space, there'd be really no point in trying to spend the money on a foreclosure action to add this little sliver to it. But if it's, we can put to use this land,
Yeah.
for some other purpose, and we wanna complete the map, so to speak, and wanna make sure that we've quiet title to everything that's there, it probably would be worth it to do that.
Right, right. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All right, all in favor?
So what was the actual wording of the motion? I know we've been discussing it,
Was the actual, so I have, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, let's see if you got it.
That Nicole recommended for change of use for the property to be multi-use for housing and trail connectivity.
Multi-use housing.
No, multi-use with
Multi-use.
multi-use
For housing.
and trail
Connectivity.
connectivity.
Okay.
and I guess my one question to that is, what do we consider the current use to be? Is it the zone for housing, or is it that it's just kind of open woodlands? Like, is that,
Open space, I would say. It's just open space right now.
But it is residential. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
being used that way, but it's legally
Yes,
residential
right.
land.
It's part of a subdivision, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So
and a lot of it has restrictive covenants for housing already?
For only housing.
Right.
Right, so it's restricted covenants for only residential use. It's very similar to 52 Brookwood and 38 Mylan. We'd be adhering to the deed restrictions for residential use. So much like those two properties, it should be utilized for what it's meant to be.
And we'd be adding the emphasis on trail connectivity.
Yes, that would definitely be that, trail connectivity and residential use, housing. Adhering to the deed, and then we can also add in the multi-use of the trail connectivity to be able to get people off that road on Park Lane and through a more safe route to the other trails. For those who hike and such. I will take the car.
not there.
Okay, so that's the motion. All right, so all in favor?
So, everyone, okay.
All right. Woohoo, okay.
And I will add that,
And I'll give you
took
the.
this vote to
Yeah.
the draft report
Uh-huh.
and send you the
Thank you.
updated draft.
And I'm gonna send you the Greenway expansion plan report. so
Right,
you
I'll
have-
incorporate more discussion of
Perfect.
the trail aspect of it.
Perfect.
I'll email Woodbridge Land Trust and let them know.
Okay. Great, okay. Next, Dave, you're up.
All right,
On two of them, actually.
first one,
Oh, you're going out of order, how dare you?
Oh,
Just kidding, I'm just
next
kidding.
one.
I'm kidding.
I have them both up. So, 143 Center Road. So just to remind everybody, I'm sorry, I was thinking Center Road. That was last one. 143 Peck Hill. So to remind everybody, this is a property that's landlocked. It's next to some trails. It's next to some of town property, Elderslie particularly. It's also next to some Woodbridge Land Trust property. So just there's the visual. It is 7.9 acres. I did a little more research because we realized it is landlocked, and what's the point? It is named open space on the development map.
Oh, that's why.
So yeah, so it's named open space.
Yep.
My one question is, it's on the map but not written into the deed.
Does it mention in the deed, in the addendum?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I did find it. I take that back. I was
Okay.
looking, and then I found it later.
Perfect.
So it is designated open space. So
There you go.
I think there's nothing to do. No change needed, and it's so it doesn't have easements for like driveways or anything like that. That's what we were kind of wondering. It is the opportunity to put more trails. Like there's already trails right next to it. So if we needed to add more or do another loop, could be something like that.
Great. So,
Okay.
all right, so it was an open space designation as part of a subdivision, which we see a lot. So we should probably vote on no change in use, just so we have it. And then, Dave, if you could write that up, and
Yep.
then we'll go from there, okay? So, Dave, you have to make the motion because it's your property.
Motion for no change of use. The current use is open space.
Okay, second. Oh, Dan, want to do it? I'll give it to
I'll
you,
second
Dan.
it, sure.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Great. Okay. I knew there was something with that because it was landlocked. I said there's something strange
Right.
with that, so.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the wrong deed last time. I realized.
How dare you?
It's only, so clear all the time. And the map function actually worked this time, so I could actually just
good.
search for the
Oh,
map.
good.
All right, the other one, I also, so just to remind everybody, this is 95 Center Road. So it's this little triangle property that has a whole bunch of, looked, at least on the map, it has driveways on it.
I found the driveway, by the way. I know exactly where it is. I didn't go
Right,
down.
right over there. So, and then our question was 97 is not owned by the town, so it's a little bit odd that it's owned by individuals. 97 is actually owned by the same person that owns 87, so disconnected, but works together. So 87's up here, 97's here,
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
it's the same person that owns it. So it makes some sense, right? We were kind of like, who owns this? And we just didn't click on 87 last time.
And the other properties that are off that spur, they all presumably have easements to
They
travel.
do on
both.
97. 95 is not written that way because it's town land. So whoever from the town.
Do we have access to 97 to get to 95? I'm assuming we do, right?
Well, you know, sort of. This is how it reads. So together, right of way with common and others through and over upon each and every portion of a parcel of land whatsoever over the travel way
Oh, my Lord.
now existing leading from some place to another place. So it's like you can just kind of go over it, and then it references another one, which then is right here, which says kind of the same thing. It's a right of way of foot travel only for 15 feet in width passing from westerly, blah, 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 blah. So, and now I couldn't trace like this plate, like it had, the list of like 9 things to tell you where the property is. I didn't spend the time on both
This is the
deeds.
one going east and west though, because it's going to Newton Road.
I'm with you guys. It's not quite
Because
clear.
there's 2 entrances to that property.
There's 2 entrances. This one references this one, but again, the spirit of it. Because remember that you have a property coming from over here, right?
So
That's
they're
the
only
foot
allowed
traffic
foot traffic
one, which
on
you're
that one.
violating, I'm assuming.
but these easements are only on 97, right? So
Yeah.
so it's now if I'd mapped it all out, I could tell like, oh, this used to be part of 97, and now it's not. So a little confusing in the deeds, not crystal clear.
Who owns the one right next to the Amity High School right there, that long one right north of
19?
there?
19.
Yeah. Do we own
Just-
that one? We own a property that runs along the,
Now you're thinking of 7.
no,
Maybe?
I think we own another one that runs alongside the
There's a
driveway.
house on that one.
Yeah, 19 is owned.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's looks like husband and wife.
No, I thought we owned something
There's a house
else.
there.
But maybe it is 7. Maybe you're right, Dave. I know we own 7.
There's 13.
Yeah,
So that
we own
one.
that one.
Oh, we own 13?
We own 13,
Oh, I knew it. I
7,
knew there was one. Yeah. Okay, so
5,
right.
not 83, like that's the church owns that, and then this is Woodbridge Land Trust.
Okay, that's where the pond is. So that property is surrounded by private homeowners, correct?
Correct.
And I'm wondering if, like some of our other properties, this could be perhaps a property that maybe other properties may want
Yeah,
to
my-
purchase or something.
Again, if I wanted to make sense of it,
How many acres is it?
1 point something.
It wasn't part of open
1.1.
space connected to a
I couldn't.
subdivision again, was it?
I didn't find that. It's
Don't you think it sounds like that a little bit to me?
It's almost functionally a road, really.
No, no,
It's owned by
No,
the
no,
town.
this one.
Oh, the other one. Oh, the other one.
so
Okay.
yeah.
Talking about
The
95.
only part. So if the town owned 97 and 95, and it was just like that's how they did it, the town plows it. Okay, it would make sense to me. The part that doesn't make sense to me is how the town left this property, sold everything else, and 97 wasn't part of that. right? So my 2 cents are whoever owns 97 should have the same easements for 95. They own both, or someone else could, but now it's just a little bit odd. So
I guess the question is, what purpose is that property serving
I don't think any,
us?
none in my opinion, right?
Right.
Like, and if you don't have 97, you don't even have access.
Yeah.
So I don't know of a purpose unless I'm missing something.
The only thing I could think of is in a subdivision map someplace, whatever this subdivision was, if it was a subdivision, I don't even know if it
Wasn't,
was.
no, the deeds go back pretty far.
Oh,
I
they
didn't
do,
see
so it
it-
wasn't even a
I
subdivision.
didn't see it as a subdivision. So, and also, when you see the odd shape of lots, usually it's not a subdivision, right, when they're all over the place.
Listen, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I mean, I'm wondering if this is a property, one more time, how big is it?
1.15.
115.
If anyone would be interested in,
No, that's
One
my
of the
2
neighbors
cents as well. The
purchasing it,
neighbors,
and-
if
yeah.
any of the neighbors want to take it off the town's hands,
yeah,
that
But
would make
it's
sense to me.
buildable, right? I mean,
What's that?
it could be sold as a residence.
it could. But-
No,
It's
I
only
don't-
1 acre.
my 2 cents are, where are those driveways actually?
But
Like,
97 provides the easement to 95, so it,
But how much of that, I mean, it's an acre and a sixth.
yeah, but
and
look
how
at
much
Oh,
the
you're
size,
saying-
look at the
sorry,
size of the.
I was
right
misunderstanding.
side.
You're saying that
But what
add,
I'm saying is the, and how much of that is taken up by the east, like, you
I don't
I
know.
don't think that affects the zoning, right? As long as you can put a house in the offsets, you can build a house there. Right,
Can you do it on a parcel that small?
obviously
It
95
gets,
did.
so it gets
or 90
grandfathered in because if it was divided prior to, I think it's like 1955 or something like that, I wanna say,
Gotcha.
don't quote me on the year, something like that. I'm not sure how old it is, if what Dave mentioned, they're pretty old, so it's probably predates that. I suppose first, the options would be up to the board of selectmen, as always, right? I mean, I suppose that we could just recommend disposition, whether it's purchased by neighbors or,
What's the topography of that?
oh yeah, what is the
And it's
topography?
pretty
Is it
flat.
wet?
pretty flat.
And
Wow.
yeah,
Is it wet?
the wet is,
Yeah.
is
Not
away
wet?
from it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been on it, because didn't wanna go
Why would you?
barging up to people's houses, but,
Well,
It
it's
is
the
a
town-
long driveway.
it
If
seems
the
like
town
the,
owns 95 and has an easement
Yeah.
on 97, we as
Yeah.
members
No, I
of the
know.
committee can
I'm-
absolutely go up
I just mean,
97.
I'm trying not to.
I know, but I didn't
barge
wanna
in
get
on
stuck
people.
up there and have people
Oh, you have
looking
to
at
walk.
me. Yeah. Mm-mm.
I'm just looking at the deed again, make sure I didn't miss anything. No, but it's pretty indescript, the deed.
What's the year? Volume 138, it's gonna be.
86.
1986.
But that's when we
That-
got it,
that's-
it was in
yeah.
existence prior to that, for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to the former one.
I mean,
I mean, it
I
doesn't- it
suppose
doesn't
we say
change the
we think
disposition,
the
it's
town should
still-
dispose of
it
the
can be- it
property,
can be
whether
sold.
it's, and they can decide how
Well, I
they wanna
tried-
do it.
I tried searching where, like Tarbell, right here.
Uh-huh.
That's I tried searching that and going backwards the other way. I couldn't find it.
The challenge you have there is it's an estate, so it could
No,
have
no,
been.
so but to your point, I couldn't go past this deed. I tried to search the names and didn't find the rabbit hole. So if somebody wants to look deeper, I'm not
I
the
can take a
expert
look.
at this.
Where the Tarbells got the land from before it ended up in their estate, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're going, but I didn't even find other, it's like one column, the seller and the buyer. I couldn't find where Tarbell was the buyer. So I'm
Right,
like,
that's what I'm saying, is you
Yeah,
can find
chances
out.
are is it could very well be that it was inherited by the wife
Right,
under her maiden
right.
name.
That's
So
my
that's
guess as
the-
well, because it's a state of.
so I don't have any history there. So, yeah, so to Aaron's point,
Are there restrictions, like residential use only, as we've been seeing? Oh, we don't know, because we don't have the original, it could be in the original. too.
no, this is just a kind of an indescript deed. It just says, here's the land, right? Doesn't really say much of anything.
Doesn't say refer to volume, blah, 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 or page this or that for
No,
any type of restrictions,
Not
very
that I
official,
found.
right? Blah, blah, blah,
for $1.
yeah.
So
Um,
they're not local.
Well, we have two
Bloomfield County
options
is.
here. We can either see who can go down the rabbit hole the furthest and determine whether there's any other indication of why that property was given to us, or, you know, we already know that wasn't part of a subdivision, so that's out. We could just double, triple check to make sure that there isn't anything that pops up. It may be residential use only, or we can determine and make a recommendation tonight that the town disposes of the property and leave it at that.
So I don't see a reason the town owns it. Now, whether, my big thing is, if the town sells it, it has to keep easements so everybody has access, right?
Right.
So whether it's sell it to a neighbor, that's fine, like, however that.
But what easement's on that property? There's an easement on that
There,
property?
the neighbor, the,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know.
there are,
the three properties to the north of it have easements for driveways.
There are not today, is what I'm saying. So 97 has kind of that vague easement of like everybody has access. 95 has nothing written on it, but it's town land, so everybody can go through. If we sell it, it must have the easements so nobody's blocked out of their own
But
driveway.
there's an easement.
There
somewhere.
has to be an easement,
There's
because
probably
it's
an
not,
easement
because
in
if
that.
it's town
I
land,
would
doesn't
say.
give.
yeah,
you-
so where it's gonna be is, so the deed you have to the town, this is the deed to the town, it's a quick claim deed
Right,
from
It's a level
Luther
further.
Tarbell as basically the administrator, executor of the estate of Irene Tarbell. Somewhere, there's a deed
I couldn't find
or
where
some, I recognize, but I'm saying somewhere in the history of this property, I'm sure there's something to Irene Tarbell, maybe when she was, you know, Irene Allen or something like that, and that's why we can't find it, because we don't know the name. And that probably has the easement on it, because this is a quick claim, this is just saying,
you take it.
whatever I have, it's
For-
yours
yeah,
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Without providing the details. But I would have to think, and, you know, I don't know how we did,
I can do
look at the
something
adjacent
here.
properties
Yeah,
and see
fine,
if they say
because they'll have reference
what
to
they
the
border to
easement.
the south,
Yeah.
or whatever.
so why
plus
don't we
easement
just put
rights.
this down for the next meeting and just confirm it, and then, we can, when we write the recommendation, whatever that'll be, we can ensure that we list in there the appropriate, you know, the easements and that are on the property, so that the Board of Selectmen has all the information, so they can make a determination, if we decide to dispose of the property, how they wanna dispose of it.
Right, and I think to the larger point, we have to track down, if we can,
Right,
the scope and the details about the easements, but as a practical matter, there probably are easements, and if not, there need to be
Right.
for those other
Correct,
properties.
that's what I wanted to make
Right.
sure.
Right, and that's going to affect,
right,
you know, the value of the land if the town wants to sell it, or,
exactly, or, contact the neighbors, which you'll do anyway, because they're budding landowners, but, you know, that'll be the, kind of push them towards a direction, right? Okay, all right, so we'll put that down for the next meeting. You guys, everybody's gonna go down the rabbit hole and see who comes out with the most information.
It's a race.
Let's see, which one of you is it going to be? Okay, great, all right. So 38 and 52, the good news is I
Hey, wait,
don't,
we found out, they can already sell 38.
Yeah, it's been
You
approved.
guys catch that?
what page is that on?
That's the last one.
Last
Page
page?
12 of 14. The board voted unanimously to authorize the first selectman to offer for sale the property at 38 Milan. And
It's
then-
Mylan and Woodbridge, you know.
And then I don't have the next page, but
Either by public advertisement by the town or through a realtor.
Oh, we don't have that.
we don't
Oh,
have 13.
no,
you
this
have
is-
to get rid of that page 13.
Well, the whole page will be, yeah.
Because I
It was
cannot
like a
believe,
page
I
9.
cannot believe that this is in the minutes that we were given today. This is insanity. Okay. And by the way, this isn't the first time. I mean, this may have been the first time, but it was also tried to sell it, I think, like about a decade or so after that, and here we are again. So let's get this done, people. Okay. So this is gonna be our year. I can feel it.
it was put for sale and it didn't sell, or?
I don't know what happened. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine, Aaron.
That's
so-
a mystery.
It's a mystery, like most of these things. This is not the first time that some of these properties have been up for sale. Okay, so we've already made recommendations. That's why I was asked to attend the Board of Selectmen meeting on these two properties. Our initial, let me get my notes here, because for 38 Milan, we said proceeds of the sale, and we recommended sale of the property. Proceeds of the sale and subsequent tax revenue derived from the property will provide much-needed financial assistance for Woodbridge while potentially assisting the town with its housing plan. And for 52 Brookwood Drive, very similar language, the proceeds from the sale and subsequent tax revenue derived from the property will provide a financial benefit for the town while potentially assisting the town with its housing plan. So that was our recommendation. Now initially, we were hoping that, I feel like we did these so long ago. Was everybody on this commission when we did these properties?
Yes.
I don't
I
think.
was. but-
No? Were you?
Yeah, you were.
Okay, you were
I don't
not.
think you
No,
guys
I
were.
think it was
I was on 38.
Okay, this is how long this has been
This is
around.
the one like in the, it's like a, it's
Right.
like an empty lot in a residential.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, originally, the thought, these are deed restricted single family, I should say that first, or second, whatever one I'm on now. So initially, we had contemplated, perhaps, helping us with our affordable housing stock. However, the Board of Selectmen are reviewing these properties to sell at market value, given, a deficit for our budget this year in state funding. I put them on our agenda because I was asked a question from Amy Morella. Did you get my email?
I did.
And I
did
talked
some
to the town
research
attorney
today.
too, so, I'm sorry?
I did some research.
Oh, you did? Oh, good, because I have some free, okay, so, and Amy Morella proposed a question to me regarding an idea of deed restricting a single-family unit to 55 and over and requiring a deed-restricted ADU on the property as affordable. The town attorney, now that poor Dan has researched this, but the town attorney will be providing a memorandum to the Board of Selectmen, but in essence, to deed restrict a single-family home, and I'm sure Dan found this out, would be a violation of the Fair Housing Act and cannot be done. And it would not fall under the HOPA, I'm gonna call it HOPA, HOPA, exemption for, it's like a Housing for Older Persons Act, which allows you to provide for 55 and over, but it's limited to developments, right? And so you cannot do it on a single family because they view that as discriminating against particular families who have children, so I can't do it. Dan, what'd you find out?
Well, I looked into the, I guess, subsidiary issue of whether the fact that ADUs are allowed by right.
Oh, that's my
under-
second point, we'll do that in 1 second.
Okay.
We'll get to that, that was good.
I
I'm
spent
glad you
more
did,
time
'cause
on
I didn't, good, I'm glad you spent more time. You spent more time on that?
It didn't take long, I found
Oh, good, perfect, okay.
something right away.
Good, so I was gonna feel bad, I already got the answer to the FHA questions, okay, great.
So,
So that's
you
number
could
one.
build an entire community of 55 and overs,
Right,
but you can't build a single one.
no,
Correct.
You can't deed restrict.
This makes sense.
Well, I think the idea is that if you're creating a community,
yes,
No, but
but
no, I get it, but
But-
like, what if my community has one house? Like, define it for me, right?
It's-
Like
there-
it's
I
just,
think that's not a
the,
community.
the state, the federal
it's
government.
my community, right? With one house, right?
In
Like,
general, it is a,
No,
just,
no.
okay, let me
All
start
good,
here.
all good. I'm
Let me-
just
I was
joking.
gonna say, like, sorry, like, the Fair Housing Act, in general, would preclude any housing that discriminates, against certain families, and that would be, in this case, families with children, right? However, they have provided for an exemption, and that exemption is this HOPA Act, right? And they only allow it for, it's only applicable to communities, or developments, of 55 and over, community, like Dan said, not isolated, single-family homes. So, doesn't fit the exemption. Now, I'm glad you focused on the ADUs, because the second issue, is whether or not, ADUs in Woodbridge and in the state of Connecticut are by right. However, and we kind of adopted those state regulations, the Public Act, which I'm sure Dan will let him go into all of this. But, I think, and I hope Dan has the answer to this question, certain states, allow deed restrictions and covenants to override the by right for ADUs, but I'll let Dan take that over, and I think Connecticut may be one of them, but I'll let Dan do it.
yeah, so the question is, to kind of restate it, is whether the fact that ADUs are essentially allowed by right under the zoning rules, and I can get into why that is,
You're trying to compel.
whether that can override the deed restriction on the property that limits it basically to a single residential structure. And there's a similar deed restriction on both of these properties. The one for 52 is wordier than the one for 38,
Yep.
but they both say essentially it's got to be a single family home. And the question is, does the fact that under the zoning rules ADUs are allowed by right override that restrictive covenant? And the answer seems to be no. There's a decision, it's a Superior Court decision So it's just the trial court, it's not an appellate decision.
Oh,
but,
did it go to appellate court?
It's from October of 2025, so it's still
Oh,
very new.
recent.
It's called Gomez versus Meadowood LLC. That's number HHD-CB-2461888893S. It's from the Hartford Judicial District.
Yep.
And in that, it was in the town of Marlborough, where the homeowner had a house that was subject to a restrictive covenant from a subdivision. They wanted to build an ADU. They ended up in a lawsuit with the developer from the subdivision about whether they could put the ADU on it. Their argument was ADUs are allowed by right under this Connecticut General Statutes 8-20, and the court said, no, that doesn't override the restrictive covenant, that restrictive covenants will be thrown out if they're discriminatory against public policy, like the old racially discriminatory ones that used to be much more common, and thankfully are not, because they've been stricken down as unconstitutional. But that something like this,
Because you'd be loopholing to apartments, right? Like, if you allowed that to be overridden, you could loophole to get apartments on.
you could just change the zoning rules at any,
At
but
any point.
No, you don't have to change the zoning rules. You just loophole, like, oh, I'm allowed to do an ADU. I can just add an apartment on single-family homes.
right, and so,
I
but,
get it.
just kind of structurally, the idea of a restrictive covenant in general is to restrict the use to something less than what the full zoning regulations would allow, right? So it's not surprising to me to see that, in this case, the court said that, the restrictive covenant controls over the broader rights provided in the zoning regulations, and specifically with respect to the
Public policy argument for.
for ADUs by right, it said, this statute was passed after this restrictive covenant was put in place, so you can't retroactively say that it violated the public policy. And, again, factually, this one seems to be pretty much on all fours with what we're looking at here, because it does deal with the ADUs by right under,
And the idea is you could build an ADU, you just could never classify it as a rental unit, right?
well, no, because
No,
the
on this
restrictive covenant
property,
says you cannot build.
You can't build
outbuilding,
anything other than a
essentially.
single-family home.
So, okay, so like an in-law apartment in your basement is not an ADU, right? So you could build something like that, but you couldn't put like, I don't know, a guest house, to say it a different way.
Not
Like a
on this
separate
property,
structure.
correct, because
Okay.
of the restrictive covenant.
They were very, and I recall correctly, they were very specific about garage, like what kind of
What
garage.
kind of
you could
garage,
have.
yes.
Yeah, so they were
So-
very.
So what I'm picking on is, it's not just about it being rented. You can't build a separate detached thing.
Not at this property, because the restrictive covenant is specific to the
Interesting.
construction of what gets put on the lot.
I never thought about it
And-
that way.
That's, so thank you for looking that up, because that's what I thought, but I knew that you'd come in with that. I felt badly that I was like, oh no, I hope that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a trial court decision, it's only from October, so for all I know, I didn't check to see if this case is still active, it's possible that it's up on appeal right now, but,
Makes sense then.
the reasoning of it, and it follows from Connecticut Supreme Court cases on other restrictive covenant issues, seems like it would be held up, because again, the whole idea of a restrictive covenant is to do something more restrictive than what would otherwise be permitted under your default zoning rules.
What other restricted covenants do you recall, like other restricted covenants that they upheld,
So I didn't.
or I don't know if it's.
I honestly
Don't,
didn't do
it's
much
fine.
reading once I found this, because this was like directly on point.
That's
But
fine.
there's a footnote here that says, so this is from a state Supreme Court, or state appellate court, and it quotes that, restrictive covenants generally fall into one of three categories. One is mutual covenants in deeds exchanged by adjoining landowners. Two is uniform covenants contained in deeds executed by the owner of the property when subdividing. And that's what I think we're running into on
Yeah.
these, and similar to what we see on the Woodbridge Heights. And then three is when a grantor, basically subsidize one piece of land and puts a restrictive covenant on, for his own benefit.
Yeah, so that's definitely, it's not, by right is not going to be able to surpass a restrictive covenant, no.
Right, and I mean, the thing about restrictive covenants, and it sounds like this might also be addressed in more detail in what the town attorney's doing, is that they're private rights, so it's not a zoning law, it's something that the neighbors, the owners of other properties of what was once this subdivision would have the right to enforce. So in theory, you could buy that piece of property, put an ADU on it, and if no one sues you in time, it'll get put up, but then they could sue you and you might have to tear it down. But I don't think it would really be in good faith for the town
For
to
the town to be engaged
market
in that
it
behavior, yeah, exactly.
as being eligible for this when
Yeah.
it is subject to that restriction based on the deed.
All right. Well, do you mind just typing up a little summary on what we're doing
No, that shouldn't take too long.
before the Board of Selectmen meeting next
Yeah, and I
week?
have a printout of it if we need to put this case.
Oh, yeah, we
in there,
definitely
but
probably should do that, thank
I only
you.
put one copy, but I highlighted the.
Well, that's your copy, right? Do you wanna give us a- I'll make a
I have it
copy.
in Lexis, I mean.
Oh, you do have Alexis. That's right. All right, great. Thank you so much. That's what I thought, but so we look into it and wanted to make sure. Great. Thank you so much for doing that. So that addresses that issue. So it looks like, again, the Board of Selectmen was leaning towards market, selling these two properties for market value to try to assist with the budget issues. But again, they're the decision makers.
Just curious. If the town keeps ownership, do they have other options?
They still have to, well, they could lease it. They could lease the property, but then who's gonna build the property on it? They'd have to get a developer and put the property on it and lease it, and
Okay.
that's a whole other can of worms there for sure. Okay, great. Pease Park, so I sent over to Senator Cabrera's office all of the estimates that we have. Now, just to reiterate this issue, we still need estimates on a few things before we can complete our slideshow presentation. I reached out to Mika to ask him to contact, I think it was Public Works, right, Dave, that to get an estimate for, because this could be done in-house, to create the ADU path that goes around the fields on Pease. It'll allow access to the fields in the back, and perhaps, connect also to the other amenities that we hope to add.
ADA?
Yes, ADA. So I asked for that information because we never got that information. And again, I think that the thought process on that was that could be completed in-house with materials that the town already has, that they use similar to like the Fitzgerald's track and things like that. We also need an estimate. Dave was able to receive estimates for the splash pad piece, but when we discussed this project, because of the limited space there, we were hoping to have a multi-use slab that could be utilized in both the winter and the summer for an ice skating rink and a splash pad. And we also discussed the parking lot, although that would be later on our wish list, right, down further on the list. And I believe at one point, the recreation director, John Adamovich, I believe, indicated that he had spoken to someone who was able to provide us with an estimate for that, but we don't have that. And I don't know if that's what I recall, that's my recollection, but I could be wrong. And I reached out to him to ask if I was correct first, and secondly, if we can get that information. And of course, lighting at some point, which seems to be the theme tonight.
I was gonna say,
Lighting at some point at the fields, but that again is lower on our wish list in terms of what to do. At the top of our wish list, and I will remind the Board of Selectmen this next week, is that we did ask to be given funds to be able to get a landscape architect or engineer to evaluate the property to determine where these amenities should be located. And of course, I think when we spoke about this months ago, I was told we would see how the winter went, to see how many funds we had left in that account, to see if we could utilize that. Not too hopeful that we're gonna be lucky in that account, but I'm hoping that we can still persuade them to provide us that money, because at the meetings that Dave and I had attended regarding this project, you have to spend money to get money in terms of state funding.
Shovel ready is the term.
Shovel ready. So I did put that in as our wants, in the message I sent to Senator Cabrera's office to get funds to be able to do that as well. Pretty much put in order, our wish list in order for the property, bicycle playground being one of the top ones, and moving down down from there, bless you. So, bless you. So hopefully, we can hear something, but I will certainly remind everyone of this next week. Now, in terms of the slideshow presentation, if we can get these last estimates, and complete the slideshow, then we can, send that over to the Board of Selectmen and hopefully make that, presentation to them and get them excited if, you know, that the snow may melt one day and the kids will love the bicycle playground. I was contacted by, Kate Rosen, right? Is Rosen her last name, Tony? Kate Rosen?
Yeah, I believe so.
She was instrumental with Steve Munno in getting the bicycle grant about a year or so ago, which is what the town used for the bicycle classes and things like that, which everybody loved in town. It was a wait list and everything else. And so she's definitely interested in assisting us in some way. You know, so I'm hoping that some kind of funding comes our way, at the very least, to get this project, as Dave said, shovel ready, so that when the grants are available, we could say, you know, we've done all this work, this is where he's gonna go. And, you know, we could also look, you know, at trying to see if we can, you know, fundraise funds from businesses and things like that, maybe to get the bicycle playground off and running. Newtown, when they built their bicycle playground, they utilized state, you know, funding, some of their own funding, and they also fundraised with businesses, to sponsor the project. So, I mean, that's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And I think that if that's our first part of this project, that would be a great start for kids to have this opportunity. I'm still in contact all the time with the bicycle playground company. He cut checks in with me probably every 3 months or so. So I think he's anxious too to see what happens, and hopefully we can move forward. Okay, that's my update on that. Any questions that I can answer? There's nothing really else to say other than that. We can keep our fingers crossed and see if we can get some money. Okay. It is 8 o'clock, so we were going to start CCW, and what I thought we would do with the CCW, and especially because it's 8 o'clock, what we could do is start tonight on focusing on looking at the property as a whole and determining, as we do with the normal property, right? And reviewing the environmental barriers that are listed within the report, the topography. I know there's wetlands, the topography, things like that. So we could look at those overlays. Dave, do you have access? You can pull it up on the website, the Woodtown website. And then we could look at that. We could discuss the purchase history of the property, which indicates, which I can talk about briefly, how we obtained the property. There are no deed restrictions. Well, there aren't any deed restrictions that were added as a result of us purchasing the property. And I had mentioned if we had time, we can kind of do a quick overview of it, but I'm thinking because it's already 8 o'clock, let's just handle those, and then next meeting we will start pulling it apart and looking at an overview of the different uses for the property, and then we can individually pull them out. So look at the recreation, the housing, the open space, and things like that. That's my suggestion, because this is a very big project. So, Dave, bring us to the page of the environmental barriers. I know there's a page on environmental barriers. I don't recall which page it is, but I know it's in there somewhere. So, or we could just do a layover. Oh, but they did all that work for us, so let's use theirs. I think it was on a map or something.
This is the presentation, or are you talking about the appendix?
No, it's in the report. They did they had a environmental barrier. Is it? Oh, no, wait, maybe that's not the right report. Hold on, let me see. Hold, please.
This is the master plan final.
Yeah, okay, it's in there. I promise, it's in there somewhere. I'll find the page.
I'm not finding barrier. I was just control find on the words.
I don't know if it's called barrier, environmental, concerns, but, you know, it's been the topic at every meeting. You know, it's
Oh, right
not-
here, site constraints.
Site
Page-
constraints, okay.
Page 14. Okay, there we go. So 49% of the site is constrained from
So,
development by
sorry.
other physical.
Can I, before we go into it, have you guys all looked at the different documents that came out? Like, what I mean is, there's this document, and then there's a big appendix, like 500 pages, that some of it's useful, some of it's not. So I just mean that I found this document to be a fine summary. I wish the appendix had more meat in certain areas and less of, like, I don't care about people's emails. So I just wanted to give that my 2 cents, because I looked through a lot of it, and like the financials is like 5 pages. And I'm like, hey, that's what I actually want way more information on.
Is there anything in the, well, let's look, we could look at the, so for today, we'll just
Yeah.
focus on the environmental pieces, and if there's anything in the appendix about the site constraints, let me know.
Well, I was just going top level, like the two
Yeah.
big documents are this big appendix and this document we're looking at.
Okay, all right,
And they're on the town website.
correct, yeah, yeah.
So they're easy to
They're on the
access.
first page.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've looked at every single sheet, but I have looked at it several times when I'm interested in a specific topic.
Yeah, so
Yes.
It's big,
these are the
it's
two
big.
spots, these are the two documents, these
Right.
two. So everything else is good info, like the presentations and stuff, but these are the two documents you wanna focus on. So,
Okay, so.
all right,
I
so,
just had
sorry,
this-
I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. So this indicated that, in the site constraints page, which is, again, this is how I review all of our properties, right? To see where the wetlands are, what the topography is, and things of those nature. We may want to do an overlay in a second of our own, but they did create this page on page 14, indicating that 49% of the site is constrained from development, they call it constrained, from development by either physical, which is topography, geological trees, hedgerows, or regulatory wetland buffers, water restrictions. In addition to the former clubhouse areas, Woodfield Road, which, we need a little pointer. Woodbridge Road, Woodfield Road,
Sure there is one.
and Ansonia Road frontages are relatively unencumbered. So Woodfield Road is the road that runs alongside the Mara Parkway, give or take. And Ansonia Road's Ansonia Road, we know where Ansonia Road is. So, and it appears that those two areas, as well as where the former clubhouse is located, which is also on Woodfield Road, seem to be unencumbered. Now, Dave, if you want to, pull up maybe on our own, the map of this property on the town with the wetlands and things like that,
Sure,
and the topography.
yes.
Although this,
When they say site is constrained, is that, I don't find that to be a very technical term, like, it's constrained by trees?
now they're saying it's constrained by either one of the following. Either
Right.
topography keeps it, wetlands keeps
Sure.
it, so we can't,
All my point is,
Yeah.
whenever we build a house, we cut trees down, or we move rocks, like, I don't know why that's an important fact.
right.
And then unencumbered means you can do things, like it's no problem,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
They have a little, a legend, I do like a good legend on a map here, with the water courses, steep slopes, greater than 15%, so that tree canopy, prime farmland soil, and, oh, here, public drinking water, watershed. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there it is. We're gonna. Oh, that's the wetlands right there. No.
Sorry? No, this is just not wetlands. I
Oh,
can turn
okay.
that on.
I said, wait, what? I'm pretty sure there's more on the property. That's the little pond, right? The fishing pond.
So there's at least that much.
Near the pond, okay. Okay. And the topography map?
Though this stream, it's pretty wet right there. Like
Mm.
it's a bit of a marsh.
Mm. I remember walking around there. On that
Topo, it's what's that under? No?
Isn't this part of their report, a summary of the site? Do they have something?
That was the map that we saw earlier.
No, but I mean, didn't they write up a wording to describe it for us in that report?
That's what I read, that little paragraph.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
what
it.
they said. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, unless there's something in the appendix, and
Yeah.
you do know I like a good appendix, so.
Yeah, I think there
You know,
must
could
be.
be, it
How do I
sounds like
turn
it
top-
rivals my appendix.
So it's on the left-hand set, State of Connecticut layers, and it's Connecticut contours 2023.
Oh, I was looking for topographic contours. Is that what it's called, a contours map?
Yeah, those are called contour lines.
But isn't it a topographic map?
Right, but I guess the lines are turned on and off.
Contour lines, all right.
Religious
Learn something new.
Yes.
Yeah, so if nobody's walked on it, it is pretty hilly, especially near the clubhouse.
Oh, it is.
Good sledding hill.
Mm-hmm.
I was there this weekend. And then the paths are pretty good.
Mhm.
Pretty fun to bike on.
So, in essence, that was the environmental, they're calling them constraints. So, they're leaving the, hillier, I think they said 15% or more, areas that are elevated 50% or more, open space as well as any wetland space. And I think that that's the majority of the center of the property as well as near the pond, because when you look at the final master plan, they're talking about alongside Ansonia Road and Woodfields, which encompasses the clubhouse, but we'll get to that in a second in terms of what they would like to do up there. We did, as you may recall, I'm in the wrong section on the page, give me a second. We did provide to the consultants, and it's been on the town page, a report on the purchase of the property, and whether or not any deeds were added to restrict the use of I'm getting tired of any deeds. Any covenants or restrictions were added to the deed at the time that we purchased the property, and it was not. And that report can also be found, it's called History of Purchase, on our page, as well as the CCW page. The meeting where this property was voted on to purchase, which it was a town meeting, was recorded, and the link to the recording is also within the report, so you can watch that as well. And the information that was provided to the residents at the time that they voted for this property. Just to give you a little bit of background, there's a slideshow was presented. The slides are within our report, and there are 4 options offered to residents should the town purchase a CCW. And those were: number 1, town leases all golf course operations to a third party and issues taxable bonds to finance the purchase. Second option, town operates golf course and hires third party to run day-to-day operations, issuing tax-exempt bonds to finance purchase. Third, town sells all or part of property for controlled development. And fourth, some combination of the above. So those were the 4 options that were provided to the residents as potential uses for the property when they voted 435 to 34 to purchase the property. Again, that slide show and that particular slide are, that slide was actually entitled Possible Long-Term Options Available to Town, and that was in with our report as well, as was the link from the meeting. And again, as I just indicated earlier, there were no deed restrictions placed at the time of purchase by the town of Woodbridge when it purchased the property. So that is the history of that. Now I think to tackle this report, to Dave's point, because it's a very voluminous report, or plan on the report, we should probably look at different, for our next meeting, we should pick one of the uses to really kind of dive in. So unless anybody is jumping up and down on one use over the other, we can just kind of pick one next time and start reading that one. You know, whichever you would like to do.
What's our ultimate goal for our board with this?
I mean, because you had mentioned you wanted to review the CCW and talk about the master plan, which we should, because it is a publicly owned property, and I think we should look at it to see if it does meet, you know, needs of the town of Woodbridge, you know, things of that nature. Just we're just going to treat it just like any other property that we review. But it's just a very large property that could be used for many things. So, and I think we should review it and kind of do a deep dive into it and ensure that we all understand it. It is our biggest publicly owned property, and
Is our goal to give our input to the selectmen? So like, if we say, hey, we like this part of the plan, we don't like that part of the plan, we agree with this point, we think information's missing, like, is that our goal, like analyze it? Or is it just understand it and inform the town? Like, I didn't know where you're trying to go with our goal here as a board.
well, I think at some point in the near future, the Board of Selectmen will be reviewing this master plan and making decisions based on it. Certainly, when I appear before them next week, I will be asking that question, right? What is it exactly that you would like our commission to do in terms of this master plan? We're more than willing to dive in and review it and look at all the different, you know, options here, and present a recommendation from our commission, as this is a publicly owned property, right? We did have representation on the TAC, but that was just providing input, and I think, you know, from a historical standpoint, we provided that input, right? So they had the history on the purchase of the property, but certainly the use of the property falls under our purview, right? So I would think that it is completely appropriate for us to provide input. But I can certainly ask them more specifically what.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is.
Anything particular from us that we should be looking
Right.
at when I appear next week.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking it that way is like, when I read this, is my goal just to understand it, and we talk about it, and then, because it's developed enough that typically when it's this developed, it's out of our hands, right? It's at the Board of Selectmen, we're all done. So if we're reviewing this, we need some guidance if they want more input, or if they're like, nope, you guys are, it's past your level, it's on us to decide what to do.
I think because they haven't voted as a board to adopt the plan as is yet, that certainly it's still within our to review this property. Certainly, you know, conservation's still reviewing the property and the master plan. I'm not quite sure if recreation is, or who else is. EDC maybe start looking at this plan as well from an economic development standpoint. So I think that we should certainly do the same.
We were part of the selection or recommendation for the proposals that came in for the consultants. So we were in at the beginning of that phase, and now it's gone a long, you know, down a long road, and a lot of data has been collected. So we're not, you know, recreating anything.
We're not recreating anything.
We're just looking at all the data that's come and making a recommendation. Right? Is based on the information. We're not asking for more information, and we're not creating a new scenario.
Correct, we are not doing that. We're gonna be looking at this master plan and reviewing it, and to Dave's point, digesting all of it, because it is a lot of information, and making that recommendation. I could certainly, you know, to Patty's point too, I don't know how I forgot about that. We were asked to weigh in. If you may, I think some of you were on the commission at that time regarding the consultants and you know, whose proposals we thought were better and why, and things of that nature. So certainly I am sure they will be looking for our input regarding the use of the biggest publicly owned property in the town of Woodbridge. So we can certainly just look at it. I think the best way to do it is just to divide it up in different uses, right? But a little light reading for everybody by our next meeting, for sure, which is actually this month again, so you don't have that long to digest. All right, it's 8:15. Going on to, we did Acorn already, going on to other business.
On Acorn, before we close that out, are we supposed to be making a recommendation tonight?
Well, I was gonna ask the same thing. Like,
Because-
we kinda
Yeah.
heard many things and then we didn't talk about it.
All right, good point. We
Yeah.
just went on to the other
And I
one.
know that they were expecting to have something to go to the Board of Selectmen meeting on the March 11th, which is
So
really soon.
in their slides, it says, next step is Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
approval March 11th. Now, I don't know if that's wishful.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that may be wishful on March 11th.
Well,
I don't think
if
they
they're up-
presented anything to them yet, so my guess is that if they are on the agenda, they'll be presenting on March 11th.
And maybe that's what they mean.
Right. Yeah.
It's just on their slide.
Right, so I would like to look for the ordinance committee meeting minutes to see what happened with the ordinance. Obviously, if there's an ordinance in existence that does not allow for lighting at the Acorn Hill Field, that is something that we need to determine, because that's a whole other process, right? So we definitely need to look into that. I could try to search down in the vault, I haven't been there in a little while, and see if I can find the ordinance minutes on that.
But ordinance, wouldn't it be written into the ordinances? Like,
It would be.
so what I mean is, I don't think you need the minutes, just, is it in?
I don't know all of our ordinances by heart, so I would have to
No, no, but
definitely
it-
research.
I mean,
So you
I
should
was,
be able to search the ordinance
Yeah, yeah,
for lightning or something.
And I would
Yeah.
like to, but if it wasn't in the ordinance, I would like to know why, and I wanna know if it was ever
No, no, I'm
brought
saying
before
go
the ordinance.
backwards. Like, if it's in an ordinance, like, well, I mean, it's
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
I don't know if I was looking in the right place, but I was word searching through the ordinances as linked on the town website during the presentation today, and I couldn't find anything about this.
Interesting.
But I was word searching it while trying to listen to the people
Sure.
talk, so
Mm-hmm.
it's
The other
possible
one
I
that,
looked at it.
threw up I'll call it an orange flag, caution flag. The baseball league would own the lights
Yeah, I.
on town, so what I mean is, that's a weird relationship. Like, I'm not objecting to it, but I don't know how that functions, right? So what if maintenance is needed and that baseball league is dissolved?
Or-
For whatever reason, right?
What if a pole falls?
No,
Who's liable?
I don't know how that functions practically for the town. Like, it's one thing if they're paying for it, recreation takes over, just like the field, recreation deals with it. Like, that is clear, it's a handoff.
Well, I think they're doing that to help the town to
But-
ensure, yeah.
But that does raise another question of, and you know, I only know what we heard today.
Correct.
So I don't know if any of this is true, but if the point about it being a condition of the state grant that it be made available to
I'm
other
just gonna say that.
potential, you know, leagues, whatever.
But
as
then
a
they
town-
own the lights, like,
But this is what I'm getting at with your question is, the way the process was described to us today, not just I guess for this field, but for any fields within town that are on town-owned properties, Park and Rec takes their schedule requests, right? And then they fill in from there. As it stands today, because there's no lights on those fields, the time slots available presumably are limited, because at nighttime, there's no lighting, and so there's no time slots. Well, if there's lighting on the field, and Bethwood wants to use it 3 days out of 5 during the week, are those other 2 days actually available in terms, like, does Park and Rec have to put them on their schedule? Do they have to allow an
Normal-
outside party come in and maybe
Yeah.
pay for it?
Yeah.
But does that open, regardless of who owns it, once they're there, does the facility now become, you know,
Yeah,
open
men's-
for all those
all of
hours?
a sudden there's men's softball league in
Well,
Woodbridge,
that's what I'm
right?
trying
At
to-
10 o'clock at night.
Well,
Well, that's what I'm trying to decide, right? I mean, determine, we need, that was my other point. I was thinking maybe you wanna find this out, but is that accurate? That if town-owned if these fields were only created because we received state funding, does that mean, as it was, represented here, that, anyone can use them?
It probably depends on the terms of the specific grant,
so we
right? It
have
might
to
not
find
even
that out.
be
Right.
a default rule, it might be in the grant itself.
Correct, so that's
Well-
something we would have to find out, to get the answer to that question, because that's an important question, I actually marked that down as
But-
something I want to determine.
And limitations, because there's no concessions and no toilets, that like puts certain things, you know, in the no pile
Right.
immediately. You know, a lot of.
But anyone, from the sound of it, can follow the guidelines that this town sets in place to utilize those fields, whether it's payment, reserve, you know, not,
And we
you
need
know,
to find
being
those
allowed.
guidelines
Seems
out.
like- it sounds like there are some guidelines that rec owns and follows through with and controls. I'm just curious, like, you know, I'm certain the town has the capability of designating open hours, right?
Right, yeah,
From,
sure.
you know,
Mhm.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever it is.
Well, Pease is open, dusk till dawn.
That-
Or, sorry.
Yes.
dawn
But
till
once
dusk.
you,
Right.
once you put the
That's
lights in
not-
place, you don't
Only
need
at
to,
night.
you don't
We
need
know
to
what
do
you
that.
mean.
You can say it's from 8 to 8 or something like that.
Yep.
Where
Mhm.
in the middle of the summer, it doesn't matter. You don't need the lights because
Right.
we've got summer hours. I guess I'm trying to understand the concern if those hours are set independent of the time of year. It's not like people playing baseball in the middle of July versus people playing in October is going to go any later, right? It's
No,
setting,
I agree with your point of that, hey, they're playing at 7 at night in the spring. Why can't they play at 7 at night in the fall with some lights? It's like, so what, kind of? The point made was there's no leaves on the trees, so it's louder. I get it, right? I have the Ansonia Gun Club near us. In the winter, it's louder, okay? So
I
I
can hear that all the
get,
way at my house.
I get the point of that. I think, yeah. So I think there's a few things where I'd be like, hey, how does that work? How does this work? I think that's fair. To the two folks that spoke that kind of gave us the history, though.
I
If
mean,
it was brought in and said no lights, hard to go
That's
back
what we
on
have
that.
to determine
Yeah. Right.
first is, to Dan's point, he's not able to find an ordinance that says that, but we have to make sure that that's
Yeah, I
the case.
didn't read
And-
it chapter
right.
and verse,
Right,
so.
and then,
No, no,
and then the
for
second question, and the follow-up question is, okay, did it go to ordinance committee, and what happened? If it did, if the answer is yes, what happened?
Well, as
Why
we-
didn't it pass?
As we can see,
Okay.
it definitely, they follow through on everything. Right? Milan's on there.
Yeah, it's like,
Like-
for how many times now? And then the issue is, because there may be another story there, right? And then once we get past the history of all of this, because to their point, this is why we're doing what we're doing, right? I mean, yeah, we should have reports that give the history of properties, right?
But I think
That's what we're doing.
Aaron's point, I'm thinking
So
about it
this-
more. The issue is if you can't restrict people because some state grant paid for it, and now you put lights,
That's the
you're
other
gonna get
question.
10
Right.
o'clock at night men's softball.
well, no,
league.
but if you
That
can,
goes-
it sounds
you
like you
can
can
restrict
restrict
people.
people.
This is a
There are a set
town.
of
You
rules
can.
that the town can say, you
Yeah.
can't be at that
Yes.
park at 2 o'clock in
And
the morning.
that's the other question
Right.
we need answered.
Sort of. Unless it's an approved use and
Well,
you
no,
don't get.
but they have to pay for the lights, they have to pay, you know, there's rules that we can set in place, and
There's a,
What-
you can
no, no.
put a, you
But,
can close
but
a park down.
to Dave's point, like, right now, the open hours are very restricted because the sun goes down.
And they say after dark, it's not safe.
But if 3 days a week, it's being used until, let's just say 8 p.m. by Bethwood, and the other 4 days a week, they're not using it. Well, the fact that they are using it for those 3 days might sort of establish that
You
it's
can do this 7
reasonable
days.
for
a
it to
week.
be used in that 6 to 8 p.m. period, and now, you know,
well, I mean, I look at
other
it
people
as-
could come in and ask you and say, oh yeah, we'll pay for electricity for 2 hours, and then it's a 7-day-a-week thing, and that's
Yeah.
probably a much more onerous thing for the neighbors than if it's the couple days a week that Bethwood actually wants to use it for.
And then who controls those lights going on and off? Because if they say they control it, would
No,
they
no, that's
control
all
the
the
people?
logistics I
Yeah.
I
worry
think
about.
we have a lot of questions that we need answered first before we go down okay, then how can you restrict it, or how can you make sure, and we may not be able to restrict it if that is true and it's negligent in the grant.
And to the point on the ordinance committee running down, it's possible that the rule was put in place, and I don't know enough about what the option would be, memorialized in some way other than in an ordinance, Like maybe it went to the ordinance committee and they said, that's not the right method, the correct method is,
Some recreation restriction.
and, or there's a deed in there that just places a, you know,
Exactly.
it could be something like that. So the fact that I didn't find it in the ordinances doesn't necessarily mean that.
It's just tent wasn't
town didn't agree to it.
memorialized somewhere, yeah.
It just might mean that it didn't agree to it in that method.
Correct. So that's what we have to answer, that's $1 million question.
So who wants this
Answer
route?
that, and we have to answer the grant,
started
the
it,
grant
but-
conditions.
Patty gets this
If there's
route.
anything written in the
It's all
grant
your fault.
conditions.
But
And if it's not written in the grant conditions, is there an automatic default because it was state funding that was used for a
Well,
public park?
But it sounds like there is an established use pattern that recreation controls.
manages.
But that's the everyday operations, that's the use pattern they would do.
But I'm saying that means that recreation gets to decide who's allowed to use it when.
But maybe, but to Dan's point to the public comments, they may not be able to say to somebody outside of town, no, you cannot use it, because it's a state grant.
No, they
But they're
get,
able to say it's $1,000 an hour to
Yeah.
use it,
sure.
right? Which would be potentially
I
either
would like to
revenue
see what the
generating
grant says,
or
though. Yeah, we can get
a
that.
restriction.
No, I understand the neighbor's concern with some of this, because like, there was a park in Cheshire near where I lived, and men's softball was like 9 to 11 at night. Just all spring, 9 to 11, that was their time, because we were in there for baseball before that. And so,
Well, we can limit and say there's no way that.
no, but we need to know how to,
Do
and especially if
that,
the town doesn't own the lights, how this works.
Right.
But
Can other people use it, like, that's kind of
So,
the big question about
Let's
that.
come up with a plan for the next meeting. I'll do the research on the ordinance committee and ordinance issue. Do you wanna do them on the grant?
I'll see what I can find, yeah.
All right, and does somebody wanna take up the recreation
I can reach out.
policy, right, on the fields?
I can add though that as far as the fields now have batting cage that Bethwood bought and installed. So
Yeah.
if the batting cage breaks, they must have something in place for maintenance. But like if the bases or the dugout roof has a hole in it,
Do they actually
paid
own
for the
it?
dugout.
Or
Yeah.
do they, because
They do.
I would be like, we should talk to the town attorney, because like if something happens where it breaks and injures someone, is the town
They
liable?
have
Does Bethwood?
insurance.
They have their own insurance.
And
They're
have their
private.
I
own- the
understand,
league
but-
has
but
their own
that does-
insurance.
But does the town get sued?
I mean, everyone would get
Everybody
sued,
gets sued.
just who's actually
But-
liable would be
It's hard.
based on
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
why.
Everybody
But
fell
does the
gets
down.
town want that like what if they don't maintain it well?
But they do.
They do.
What? I,
These
No,
are
I
these
know.
are all valid questions.
But-
I mean, to what I think might be one of the underlying questions here is, you know, legally, can they own a physical structure on the property without owning the property? The answer is yes.
Yes,
There-
because they do.
That does exist frequently with like hotels, where like someone owns the land, someone owns the building on the land,
But
someone
there
owns.
would be a legal agreement with a leasehold and things
Right,
like that.
yes, and there would probably be, you know, insurance obligations as
Mhm.
part of that kind of agreement. But
Right.
everyone would get sued until someone would figure out who should really be paying for it, if something
Like you
that
said, the
happened,
dugouts are financed, they did their fundraising and they built
Yeah,
them.
the
But everybody
dugouts,
uses
the
them.
batting cages, the scoreboards, and all those
Yeah,
things they
all
paid
those
for.
things.
See,
Yeah.
my concern would be if there's some issue in the future, later on financial with the organization,
How
and
does that
they
work?
need to,
Yeah.
and they need to like liquidate something, and they remove it, and now they've left like a disturbed part of the property, and they're no longer in place, the town
Yeah,
has
presumably-
lost an asset.
Right, I mean,
Unless
presumably you
they
could
sold-
contract for that, that there'd be, you know, town would have a right of first refusal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are all things that you'd need to take care of in
That
advance.
you have to work out in advance.
Because you
with the
don't
town
wanna
attorney.
end up in a
Right. I'm
situation
just
where
wondering-
it's like, this was
so-
our
so
understanding,
is
but
it-
it was never
This
documented.
is why you memorialize these things in writing, because then it's
Right.
very clear that, you know, you bring up these issues, right? That's what lawyers would do, and make these, you know, agreements that should the Bethwood, you know, go under, or, you know, things of that nature, who gets the lighting, and does it transfer over to the town, things like that, so. But, let's get these answers first and see what happens. I mean, for all we know, there's an ordinance that says no lighting,
When we have to
and that's a whole other thing.
understand, like,
Mhm.
it could be vague and it could be very specific, right? Because what they meant by lighting in 1995 may not apply
Right.
very much the same as.
Yeah, it says shall not disturb the neighbors. If it works the way they're describing, maybe it won't, right? Like, I don't know. But
So we all have our jobs for this, our research jobs? Okay, great.
Did we talk about who's doing the maintenance, like your concern about if
I mean, I
something
can
breaks?
ask, I'll go and talk to
Okay.
Recreation about the whole process, and I'll ask about what's the legal agreement between Bethwood and them about the equipment that's there.
Yeah, okay.
I could talk to the town attorney too about, what, if he's seen this already in town. I'm sure if there's something in town that's not owned by the town, that's.
I mean,
somebody's-
my other
oh, this
concern
stuff
is like,
this stuff isn't rare. I just
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
well, but what happens
Um,
if someone else is using the field, as we've said they should probably be allowed to, and they damage Bethwood's property?
no. That's what I mean. I think this happens all the time. How it's dealt with, I don't know.
So,
Like,
yeah.
hopefully
I'm
well.
sure yeah, we can find the answer out to that too. I'll talk to the town attorney. In other business, in addition to that, I'm gonna sit down with Tony this week, and ensure that, we have all of the completed reports on our website, that we have submitted. I do have a couple.
I owe you like 4 reports, so I'll get them to
I
you.
owe some to I'm not saying like we have to get ours done. I mean, like the ones that
No,
we've
but
already
I'm-
turned in.
I'm gonna
I
send
have
them.
Yeah,
one in
you have some
queue.
time. You
I
have
have
some
one in
time.
queue with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have some that have to go on that we've already submitted, so I'm just gonna make sure those go on, and then the ones that we're still working on, I'm not saying that for anybody to panic and rush through it, so, except for yours.
I think I gave you Lorraine a while ago.
Okay,
But it
yeah,
hasn't been
that's probably in our
submitted.
pile.
Yeah.
And then,
So with that, I think Mika wants to be on, what's on the website for Cupop to be what has been presented to the board.
no, I was on that email, he wants his own folder, that has all the Cupop recommendations, and I
But
asked him that
separate-
question, and he said we could put them on our website, cause we're not gonna,
Oh.
there's, a lot of these are no change in use, but he does want a separate folder that has all of the Cupop properties in it, so that if it comes up. So, and then we, need to edit our list, and we need to put 7 Forest Road from 4 to 3. We need to add the Litchfield Turnpike property, that the state of Connecticut purchased with a right of first refusal, under category 4,
And don't we have to fix a link?
and I'm getting to that.
Oh, boy.
And last but not least, Patty,
That's a big,
we need to
Task.
go through our list, and we need to put in the new links. Actually, people use our list, which is good, that's why we want it, and those links are all incorrect now because, of course, we did it, and they changed the programs,
GIS.
so they're all incorrect. So that is definitely something that we're gonna have to do after these
So-
reports are all completed.
So I hope to have this little side project I've been working on, which is I don't know if it will be a website or an application, but it will be in a database of all of the town properties, searchable with all the attributes from all of our reports. So with that, changing all the links will be basically like
Easy?
one shot.
You'll be able to do it like this for
Oh,
my
boy.
list?
No
Yes.
way.
So, but I'm still developing it, but it's coming up in reasonably good progress. It also will have all of the other properties, so you can actually look at attributes, at least the attributes that have already been identified, and search all the properties. Very much like the GIS, but but a little bit easier to search and like group properties together and things like that.
Good, great, all right. So that's our new business. This was a very long meeting, but we got a lot done, so I jinxed myself because I said I thought I wasn't gonna be that long tonight. So, all right, I think we are good. Is there a motion to adjourn at 8:34 p.m.? All right, nobody's jumping, you still wanna go? Aaron, second? Anyone?
Sure, I'll do it.
Good day. All right, thank you, everybody.
What time?
8:34.
Oh,